Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Prologue. The prologue of Reminders of Him immediately establishes the emotional weight and central conflict of Kenna Rowan's life. The story opens with Kenna, newly released from a 5-year prison sentence for the involuntary manslaughter of her boyfriend, Scotty Landry, returning to the town where the tragedy occurred. Her very first act is a deeply personal and symbolic one. She has her cab driver pull over at the rural roadside where the fatal accident happened, and she removes a small wooden cross that had been placed there as a memorial by Scotty's mother, Grace. She knows Scotty would have hated the memorial, justifying her action as a final small act of love for him. This moment is layered with the immense guilt Kenna carries. She reflects on the night of the accident, a night that remains her greatest source of pain and regret. While she did not kill him with her direct actions in the moment, she is tormented by the belief that she killed him with her subsequent inaction. She had left the scene, believing he was already dead. It was only later that she discovered the horrifying truth. Scotty had survived the initial crash and had been alive for several hours, alone on the side of the road, a fact that haunts her completely. Her destination is a run-down, sparsely furnished apartment, a significant step up from prison, but a world away from the life she once had. The apartment's eccentric and brusque landlord, Ruth, forces Kenna to take in a small, sad-sounding kitten as part of the deal for her tenancy, an unexpected new responsibility she did not ask for. Despite the physical and emotional squalor of her new surroundings, Kenna views this apartment as a symbol of her hard-won, fragile freedom and independence. This is the first time she has ever lived on her own, a necessary step she believes will be crucial when she finally tries to fight for the right to know her daughter. The prologue serves as a powerful introduction to Kenna's world, a world defined by a tragic past, overwhelming guilt, and a burning, desperate hope for the future. Her mission is set: to reconnect with her daughter, DM, a child she has never held, who was taken from her at birth and is now being raised by the parents of the man she loved and lost. This opening chapter establishes the foundational grief, the misjudged intentions, and the seemingly impossible obstacles that will drive the entire narrative. Chapter 1 begins with Kenna waking up in her new, sparse apartment, the realities of her first full day of freedom settling in. The light filtering through the window feels different from the harsh, artificial glow of her prison cell, but it does not bring the comfort she had hoped for. Her immediate focus is on the singular, driving purpose that has sustained her through her sentence. She must find a way to see her daughter, DM. The first step, as she sees it, is to secure a job and prove her stability, a tangible demonstration to the court and to Scotty's parents that she is no longer a danger to the child she was never allowed to raise. Kenna's first destination is the only place that makes sense, a local bar called the Clover, a name she remembers from her past life. She is nervous, her hands clammy as she walks in, painfully aware of the gap in her work history. The interview is with Ledger Ward, the bar's manager and owner. The moment their eyes meet, a visible shock passes between them. Ledger immediately recognizes her, and his entire demeanor shifts from professional to cold and hostile. He knows exactly who she is and what she did. His words are clipped, his posture rigid, and his eyes are full of an undisguised animosity. He bluntly refuses to hire her, stating that he cannot and will not employ her. The rejection is a brutal blow, and Kenna feels the sting of it acutely. But she is not a woman who gives up easily. She has learned to be resilient. She presses him, asking if he knows where Scotty's parents, Grace and Patrick, live, or if he can get a message to them. She tries to explain her need to reach them, to ask for a chance to know her daughter. Ledger's response is harsh and final. He tells her to leave them alone, to stay away from their family and to stay out of his bar. He makes it abundantly clear that in his eyes, she is a killer and a threat. He is the guardian of the very people she is trying to reach, and he will protect them from her. Dejected and humiliated, Kenna leaves the clover. Her heart is pounding, and her eyes are stinging with unshed tears, but she forces herself to keep moving. She can feel Ledger's gaze on her back as she walks out. Determined to not let one setback stop her, she mentally goes over her limited options. She remembers another place from her past, a small diner called the Corner Cafe. It was a place she and Scotty used to go to, a place filled with bittersweet memories. The thought of walking in there is terrifying, a risk of being recognized and shunned all over again, but it is her only other lead. She walks toward the diner, her fear a cold knot in her stomach, but her desperation pushing her forward. She tells herself that for DM, she would do anything, even if it means facing a town that has already judged her and found her guilty. Chapter 2 finds Kenna standing outside the Corner Cafe, her courage wavering as she peers through the window at the familiar booths and counter. The memories of sharing milkshakes and laughing with Scotty in this very place are so vivid that they physically ache, but she forces herself to push open the door. The bell above it chimes, and a few heads turn in her direction. She recognizes some of the faces, older patrons who were part of the town's fabric, and she can feel the immediate shift in the atmosphere. A heavy, uncomfortable silence falls over the small diner as the realization of who she is spreads like wildfire through the room. Kenna approaches the counter, her hands trembling slightly as she clutches her purse strap. She asks the waitress, a kind-faced older woman named Martha, if they are hiring. Martha's eyes are wary, but not unkind, and she hesitates before calling for the owner, a gruff man named Frank. Frank emerges from the back, and the moment he sees Kenna, his expression hardens into stone. He does not even give her a chance to speak before he tells her, in a low and menacing voice, that she is not welcome there. He says she has no business being in his establishment and that she needs to leave immediately. He makes it clear that he knows who she is and what she did to Scotty, a boy he had known his whole life. The public humiliation is absolute and crushing. Kenna feels every pair of eyes in the diner boring into her, filled with judgment, disgust, and pity. She tries to stammer out an apology and to explain that she just needs a chance, but Frank cuts her off, his voice rising. He tells her that Scotty was a good kid and that his parents, Grace and Patrick, are good people who do not deserve to have her haunting their town. He orders her out, and the customers watch in cold, silent judgment as she retreats, her face burning with shame. As she stumbles out the door and onto the sidewalk, the tears she had been holding back finally spill down her cheeks. She is now completely alone and seemingly defeated, with no job and no allies in the entire town. In her despair, she decides to go to the one place that she has been avoiding out of fear, the Landry home. She just wants to see it, to feel close to Scotty, and to catch a glimpse of the life her daughter is living. She walks the familiar streets to their house, a modest but well-cared-for home that she remembers so well. The sight of it makes her heart lurch. The front yard is just as she remembered, with a small garden that Grace used to tend. And then she sees her, a small, blonde-haired girl, playing in the yard with a dog. It is DM. Kenna freezes, her breath catching in her throat. She cannot move, cannot tear her eyes away from this child who is half her and half the man she loved. DM is beautiful, laughing as she chases the dog. It is the most beautiful and most painful thing Kenna has ever witnessed. Just as she is lost in the overwhelming feeling of love and grief, the front door opens, and a woman Kenna recognizes as a neighbor comes out, calling for DM. The woman scoops up the little girl and carries her inside, casting a suspicious glance Kenna's way. The moment is gone, leaving Kenna utterly heartbroken, her need for her daughter more intense and desperate than ever before. She knows she has to figure out a way to be a part of DM's life, but after the day's events, the path forward seems more impossible than it ever has. Chapter 3 shifts perspective, introducing the reader to Ledger Ward in a more intimate way. The chapter opens with Ledger at his bar, the Clover, trying to focus on the nightly routine of inventory and closing duties, but his mind is relentlessly pulled back to the events of the morning. He cannot stop thinking about Kenna Rowan walking into his bar, the shock of seeing her face after 5 long years, and the intense, complicated storm of emotions she stirred up in him. He remembers her as the girl who made his best friend, Scotty, happier than he had ever seen him. And he also remembers her as the woman who was convicted of killing him. The dissonance is maddening. Ledger's thoughts are interrupted by a phone call from Grace Landry, Scotty's mother. The sound of her voice immediately grounds him, reminding him of his responsibilities. She asks him to come over to the house, a request that is not unusual, as he is a frequent visitor and an integral part of their lives. He has been their anchor, helping them raise DM and filling the void left by Scotty's absence. He agrees to come over, locking up the bar and making the short drive to the Landry home with a heavy sense of duty and lingering unease. Upon arriving, Ledger is greeted by the familiar chaos and warmth of the Landry household. He finds DM, now 4 years old, a whirlwind of energy and curiosity, who immediately runs to him and throws her arms around his legs. His interactions with her are gentle and fatherly, a role he has naturally adopted over the years. He plays with her, helping her with a puzzle, while Grace busies herself in the kitchen. Patrick, Scotty's father, is quieter, sitting in his armchair, a more reserved figure who carries his grief in a different way than Grace does. As the evening progresses, Grace brings up a topic that makes Ledger's blood run cold. She mentions that she heard a rumor from a friend that Kenna had been seen in town. Ledger's heart pounds, but he keeps his face neutral. He cannot tell them that he not only saw her, but spoke to her, that she was in his bar asking for their address. The guilt of this secret sits heavy on him. He watches DM play, her innocent face so full of joy, and he feels a fierce, protective anger toward Kenna. He believes, with every fiber of his being, that she is a threat to this fragile peace, a danger to this little girl who has finally started to heal. He makes a silent vow to himself that he will do whatever it takes to keep Kenna away from the Landrys, and, most importantly, away from DM. He will be the wall that protects them from the pain he knows she can bring. Chapter 4 returns to Kenna's perspective, and she is still reeling from the devastating sight of her daughter. She has spent the remainder of the day wandering the town aimlessly, unable to go back to her empty apartment and the suffocating silence that awaits her there. The image of DM playing in the yard is burned into her mind. Every detail of the little girl's face, her laugh, the way she moved, all of it a precious and agonizing treasure. Kenna feels a desperate, primal pull toward her child, a love so fierce it physically hurts. But she also feels the crushing weight of the wall that separates them. As night falls, Kenna finds herself back at the roadside where the accident occurred, drawn to the place that haunts her dreams. She sits on the cold ground, the same spot where she had removed the cross the day before, and she talks to Scotty. It is a one-sided conversation, a plea for forgiveness and for guidance. She recounts her failed attempts to find a job, the public humiliation at the diner, and the overwhelming pain of seeing DM from a distance. She tells him that she does not know what to do, that she feels like she is drowning in a sea of guilt and regret. She asks him if he can see her, if he knows how much she loves their daughter, and if he can send her a sign, any sign, that she is on the right path. The conversation with Scotty's memory does not provide any answers, but it does give her a small measure of peace. She decides that she cannot give up, not when she has come this far. She needs to find a way to get a job, any job, to prove her stability. Her thoughts drift back to Ledger, the only person in town who had not immediately called the police on her. He had been harsh and cruel, yes, but he had listened to her for a moment. She wonders if there is a chance, however slim, that she might be able to appeal to him again. He was Scotty's best friend, after all, and surely a part of him must remember the love she and Scotty shared. With this fragile hope in her heart, Kenna decides to return to the Clover the next day, this time not for a job interview, but to plead with Ledger from a place of raw honesty. She will tell him about DM, about the years she spent in prison dreaming of her daughter, about the letter she has written to Grace but has been too afraid to send. She will lay her heart bare and hope that he can see past the monster the town has painted her to be. It is a desperate and foolish plan, but it is the only one she has. As she finally walks back to her apartment, a tiny mewling sound comes from the bushes, and she remembers the kitten her landlord Ruth had thrust upon her. She scoops up the small, trembling creature, taking it home as a small comfort, a living thing to care for in the loneliness of her new life. Chapter 5 opens with Kenna standing outside the Clover once again, her heart pounding with a mixture of dread and determination. She has spent the entire night rehearsing what she will say to Ledger, how she will make him understand that she is not the monster everyone believes her to be. The morning sun is weak and cold, mirroring the chill in her bones as she pushes open the door to the bar. The place is empty at this hour, save for Ledger, who is behind the counter wiping down glasses. The look on his face when he sees her is one of pure exasperation and barely concealed anger. He immediately tells her to leave, his voice flat and final. But Kenna does not move. She stands her ground, her hands clenched at her sides to stop them from trembling. She tells him that she is not there to cause trouble, that she just needs him to listen. She explains that she saw DM the day before, that she watched her playing in the yard, and that it broke her heart into a million pieces. She tells him that she is not asking for his forgiveness or his friendship, but she is asking for a chance to prove herself, to show that she is stable and responsible. She pulls a crumpled envelope from her pocket, a letter she has written to Grace and Patrick, and begs him to deliver it. Ledger's eyes narrow as he looks at the letter, and he refuses to take it. He tells her that Grace and Patrick have been through enough, that they have finally found a semblance of peace after years of grief, and that she has no right to shatter that peace. He accuses her of being selfish, of only thinking about what she wants, without considering the devastation she caused. His words are sharp and cutting, each one landing like a physical blow. Kenna feels the tears welling in her eyes, but she refuses to let them fall. She asks him if he ever loved Scotty because if he did, he would know that Scotty would have wanted her to know their daughter. That question seems to strike a nerve in Ledger. For a brief moment, the mask of anger slips, and Kenna sees a flicker of something else in his eyes, perhaps pain or doubt. He looks away from her, running a hand through his hair in frustration. The silence stretches between them, heavy and charged. When he finally speaks, his voice is quieter, less hostile. He tells her that he cannot give her the letter, that it is not his place to interfere, but he also does not tell her to leave again. He asks her why she thinks she deserves to be in DM's life after everything that happened. Kenna seizes on this small opening, pouring out her heart in a desperate rush. She tells him about the guilt she carries every single day, about how she thinks about the accident constantly, about how she has replayed that night in her mind 1,000 times, wishing she could change the outcome. She tells him about the therapy she underwent in prison and the steps she has taken to become a better person. She is crying now, the tears streaming down her cheeks, and she does not care. She tells him that she knows she made a terrible mistake, but she paid for it with 5 years of her life, and she just wants a chance to love her daughter. The raw vulnerability in her words hangs in the air, leaving Ledger silent and visibly shaken. Chapter 6 remains in the bar, with the tense standoff between Kenna and Ledger continuing. The silence after her emotional confession is deafening, and Kenna watches Ledger's face, searching for any sign of softening. He is clearly affected by her words, his jaw tight and his eyes conflicted. But he does not give her the answer she is desperate for. Instead, he walks to the other end of the counter, putting physical distance between them as if he needs to breathe. He picks up a glass and begins polishing it, a nervous habit she notices, while he processes everything she has just told him. Finally, he speaks, and his voice is low and rough. He tells her that he cannot imagine the pain she has been through, but he also cannot imagine the pain Grace and Patrick have endured. He explains that they were devastated by Scotty's death, that they almost did not survive the grief. He tells her that DM is the only thing that kept them going, that the little girl is their entire world, their reason for getting up in the morning. He asks Kenna if she understands what she would be doing to them by inserting herself back into their lives, by forcing them to confront the woman who took their son away. Kenna nods, her throat tight with emotion. She tells him that she does understand, that she has thought about it endlessly. She says she knows that Grace and Patrick hate her, and she does not blame them. She hates herself too. But she also explains that DM is her daughter, the only piece of Scotty she has left, and she cannot simply walk away from her. She is not asking to take DM away or to replace Grace and Patrick as her parents. She is only asking for the chance to know her child, to be a small part of her life, to let DM know that her biological mother loved her more than anything in the world. Ledger is silent for a long moment, and then he sets the glass down and looks directly at her. He tells her that he cannot deliver her letter, but he makes a surprising concession. He says that he will not tell Grace and Patrick that she is in town. It is not forgiveness or acceptance, but it is a small mercy, a promise of silence that gives Kenna some breathing room. He warns her, however, that if she does anything to hurt the Landrys or DM, he will personally make sure she regrets it. The threat is delivered without malice, just a simple statement of fact, and Kenna believes him completely. Feeling a fragile sense of hope, Kenna thanks him, her voice barely above a whisper. She turns to leave, but before she reaches the door, she hesitates and looks back at him. She asks him why he is helping her, even just a little, when everyone else in town has made it clear they want nothing to do with her. Ledger does not answer for a long time, his gaze fixed on the counter. Then he simply says that he has been thinking about something she said, that Scotty would have wanted her to know their daughter. He says that he loved Scotty like a brother, and maybe, just maybe, his best friend's opinion still matters to him. It is not much, but for Kenna, it is everything, a tiny crack in the wall of hostility that surrounds her. She walks out of the clover with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to find another way to reach her daughter. Chapter 7 shifts back to Ledger's perspective, and he is left alone in the bar after Kenna's departure, the weight of their conversation pressing down on him. He stands motionless behind the counter, staring at the door she just walked through, and he cannot shake the image of her tear-streaked face from his mind. He had expected her to be cold, manipulative, or perhaps even unrepentant, but instead he was met with raw, unfiltered pain and a desperate love for a daughter she had never been allowed to hold. The encounter has unsettled him in a way he did not anticipate, stirring up memories he has tried to bury for 5 long years. His mind drifts back to the past, to a time when the world was simpler and full of promise. He remembers the day Scotty introduced him to Kenna, a bright-eyed girl with a contagious laugh, who made his best friend light up in a way he had never seen before. The three of them had been inseparable for a while, sharing late nights and endless conversations. Ledger remembers how happy Scotty was, how he would talk about marrying Kenna and starting a family. He remembers the way Scotty looked at her, with pure adoration in his eyes, and he feels a sharp pang of loss for the friend he will never see again. He also remembers the night of the accident, the frantic phone call from Grace, the hospital waiting room, and the crushing devastation when they learned Scotty was gone. The memory of that night is still vivid and painful, a wound that has never fully healed. Ledger's thoughts then turn to the present, to DM and the Landrys. He has been their protector, their pillar of support, for 5 years. He has watched DM grow from a helpless infant into a curious and lively 4-year-old, and he loves her as if she were his own. He has promised himself that he would do everything in his power to shield her from the pain of her mother's absence, to give her a stable and loving childhood. But now Kenna is here, stirring up old ghosts and forcing him to confront questions he has never wanted to answer. He wonders if he is doing the right thing by keeping her presence a secret from Grace and Patrick. He wonders if he is betraying their trust by not telling them that the woman who destroyed their family is lurking just on the edges of their lives. His internal conflict is interrupted by a text message from Grace, asking him to come over for dinner that evening. He agrees, knowing that he will have to sit across from the Landrys and pretend that everything is normal. He dreads the charade, but he also knows that he cannot tell them the truth, not yet. He needs more time to figure out what he believes, to decide whether Kenna is truly a threat or a grieving woman who deserves a second chance. As he locks up the bar and heads home to change, he realizes that his loyalty is no longer as simple as it once was. He is caught between his love for Scotty's family and the strange, unsettling empathy he feels for the woman they have all condemned. It is a burden he did not ask for, but one he cannot escape. Chapter 8 returns to Kenna, and she is back in her sparse apartment, the kitten she has named Willow curled up in her lap. The encounter with Ledger has left her emotionally drained, but also strangely hopeful. She replays their conversation in her mind, clinging to the small concession he made, the promise not to tell the Landrys about her presence in town. It is not much, but it is more than she had expected, and it gives her a fragile thread of hope to hold on to. She knows she cannot rely on Ledger's silence forever, but for now, it buys her the time she needs to figure out her next move. Kenna decides that she cannot sit idle. She needs to find a job, any job, to start building the stable life she will need to prove herself worthy of knowing her daughter. She spends the morning scouring the classified ads in the local newspaper, circling anything that seems remotely possible. She has no car, no references, and a prison record that will make any employer hesitate, but she refuses to let these obstacles stop her. She makes a list of places within walking distance and sets out, her resolve hardened by the memory of DM's face. The day is a brutal exercise in rejection. Every place she visits, a small grocery store, a laundromat, a hardware shop, responds to her application with suspicion or outright hostility. Some managers recognize her name and shut her down before she can even finish her sentence. Others simply take her application and tell her they will call, but she can see in their eyes that they have no intention of doing so. The sting of each rejection is sharp, but Kenna forces herself to keep moving, to keep smiling, to keep hoping. She cannot afford to break down, not when DM is so close and yet so far away. As evening begins to fall, tired and defeated, Kenna finds herself walking past the Clover again. She does not intend to go inside, but she pauses at the window, peering in to see if Ledger is there. He is behind the bar, serving a few customers, and she watches him for a moment. He looks tired, his shoulders slumped slightly, and she wonders if their conversation has weighed on him as heavily as it has on her. She is about to turn away when he looks up and catches her eye through the glass. For a moment, they simply stare at each other, and then he gives her a small, almost imperceptible nod. It is not an invitation, but it is not a dismissal either, and Kenna takes it as a small encouragement. She walks home in the gathering darkness, Willow mewing in her pocket where she has tucked the kitten for warmth. She thinks about the letter she wrote to Grace and Patrick, still sitting in her apartment, undelivered. She wonders if she should try to give it to Ledger again, or if she should find another way to reach them. She thinks about DM, about the sound of her laugh, and she feels a fierce determination rise within her. She will not give up. She will find a way to be part of her daughter's life, no matter how long it takes or how many times she is rejected. She knows it will be a long and difficult road, but for DM, she is willing to walk it. Chapter 9 opens with Kenma waking up to the sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand. She fumbles for it, her heart racing with the desperate hope that it might be a job callback. But the name on the screen is one she does not recognize. She answers hesitantly, and the voice on the other end is brisk and professional. It is a woman named Carla, from a small local bookstore called Pages and Pastries, a place Kenna remembers visiting with Scotty during their happier days. Carla explains that she saw Kenna's application and wants to offer her an interview. Kenna is stunned, barely able to stammer out a response, but she agrees to come in later that morning. The interview is a nerve-wracking experience. Kenna dresses in the best clothes she owns, a simple blouse and slacks that are clean but worn. She arrives at the bookstore, a charming little shop with a cafe in the back, and she immediately feels a wave of nostalgia wash over her. Carla is a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She asks Kenna about her work experience, and Kenna is honest about her gap in employment, explaining that she has recently been released from prison. She holds her breath, waiting for the rejection that has become so familiar. But Carla does not flinch. Instead, she asks Kenna if she is willing to work hard and learn quickly. Kenna nods vigorously, promising to be the best employee Carla has ever had. Carla offers her the job on the spot, a part-time position starting the next day. Kenna leaves the bookstore in a daze, her emotions a tangled mess of joy and disbelief. For the first time since her release, something has gone right. She feels a glimmer of normalcy, a small step toward the stable life she needs to build. She walks through the town with a lighter step, the weight on her shoulders feeling just a little less crushing. She decides to treat herself to a coffee from a small stand, a luxury she rarely allows herself, and as she sips it, she allows herself to dream about the future. She imagines a day when she will be able to walk into the Landry home, hold her daughter in her arms, and tell her how much she has always been loved. But her brief moment of happiness is shattered when she glances across the street and sees Grace Landry stepping out of a pharmacy. Kenna freezes, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. Grace looks older than Kenna remembers, her face lined with grief and exhaustion, but she is still unmistakably Scotty's mother. Kenna's instinct is to run, to hide, to avoid the confrontation that would surely devastate them both. But she also feels a desperate pull to approach Grace, to fall to her knees and beg for forgiveness, to tell her that she never meant to hurt their family. The conflict rages inside her, her feet rooted to the ground. Grace does not see Kenna. She is focused on her errand, and she gets into her car and drives away without a single glance in Kenna's direction. Kenna lets out a shaky breath she did not realize she had been holding, relief and disappointment mingling in her chest. She knows that she cannot avoid Grace forever, that eventually they will have to face each other, but she is not ready. Not yet. She needs time to prepare, to figure out the right words to say. She walks back to her apartment, her mind churning with plans and fears, and she holds on to the small victory of her new job as a lifeline in the storm of her emotions. Chapter 10 shifts back to Ledger, who is at the Landry home for his usual dinner visit. The atmosphere is warm and familiar, with Grace bustling around the kitchen and Patrick settled in his armchair with a book. DM is the center of attention, as always, chattering away about her day and demanding that Ledger play with her. He obliges, getting down on the floor to build a tower of blocks with her, and for a while, he is able to lose himself in the simple joy of the moment. The sound of DM's laughter is a balm to his troubled mind, a reminder of why he has dedicated so much of his life to protecting this family. As the evening progresses, Grace brings up a topic that makes Ledger's stomach clench with anxiety. She mentions that she has been hearing more rumors around town about Kenna's presence, whispers that she has been seen at the corner cafe and walking through the neighborhood. Grace's voice is tight with barely concealed emotion, and she asks Ledger if he has heard anything. He feels the weight of his secret pressing down on him, the lie he has been telling by omission. He shakes his head, telling Grace that he has not seen or heard anything about Kenna, and the words taste bitter on his tongue. He hates deceiving her, but he is not ready to reveal the truth, not when he is still so conflicted about Kenna himself. Patrick, who has been silent for most of the meal, finally speaks up. His voice is low and gruff, and he says that he hopes Kenna has the decency to stay away from their family. He says that they have moved on, that they have built a life without her, and that she has no right to come back and disrupt their peace. His words are harsh, filled with a deep, simmering anger that has never fully faded. Ledger nods in agreement, but inside he is churning with doubt. He thinks about Kenna's tear-streaked face, her desperate pleas, and the way she spoke about DM with such raw love. He wonders if Patrick's anger is justified, or if it is simply a shield against the pain of confronting the truth. After dinner, Ledger helps Grace clean up while Patrick puts DM to bed. Grace is quieter than usual, and Ledger can tell that the rumors have shaken her. He asks her if she is okay, and she pauses, a dish towel in her hands. She tells him that she has been having nightmares again, dreams about Scotty and the accident. She says that she thought she had moved past the worst of the grief, but Kenna's possible return has stirred everything back up. Ledger's heart aches for her, and he puts a comforting hand on her shoulder. He tells her that she is strong, that she has survived so much, and that she will survive this too. He does not tell her that he has been talking to Kenna, that he has seen the woman who haunts her nightmares. The guilt of his secret is a heavy burden, but he carries it anyway. Before leaving, Ledger says goodnight to DM, who is already half asleep in her bed. He tucks her in, pressing a kiss to her forehead, and he feels a fierce surge of protectiveness. He loves this little girl more than he can express, and he will do anything to keep her safe. But as he drives home, his mind keeps drifting back to Kenna, to the way her voice cracked when she spoke about her daughter. He realizes that he is no longer sure what protecting DM truly means. Is it keeping Kenna away? Or is it giving her a chance to prove herself? The question haunts him, and he knows that he will not find an easy answer. Chapter 11 returns to Kenna, who is starting her first day of work at Pages and Pastries. She arrives early, her nerves jangling with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Carla greets her warmly and introduces her to the small team, a handful of other employees who seem polite but reserved. Kenna can feel their curiosity, the unspoken questions about her past, but she pushes through the discomfort and focuses on learning the ropes. The work is simple: stocking shelves, organizing displays, and helping customers at the register, but it feels monumental to Kenna. It is her first real step toward normalcy, toward proving that she can be a functioning member of society. Throughout the morning, Kenna throws herself into her tasks with enthusiasm. She is determined to be the best employee Carla has ever had, to show that she is reliable and hard-working. The customers who come in are mostly strangers, and she is grateful for the anonymity. No one recognizes her. No one gives her looks of judgment or disgust. For a few hours, she is just a woman working in a bookstore, and the simplicity of that is a gift she did not expect to receive. She finds herself smiling, genuinely smiling, for the first time in what feels like forever. During her lunch break, Kenna sits in the small cafe area of the bookstore, sipping a cup of tea and watching the world go by through the window. Her thoughts drift to DM, as they always do, and she wonders what her daughter is doing at that very moment. Is she eating lunch? Is she playing with her toys? Is she happy? The questions are endless, and they fill Kenna with a bittersweet ache. She pulls out her phone and looks at the one photo she has of DM, a picture she found online of Grace and Patrick at a community event with the little girl. It is not much, but it is all she has, and she treasures it. The afternoon passes quickly, and by the end of her shift, Kenna is exhausted but satisfied. Carla tells her that she did a great job and that she is welcome to come back the next day. The validation is a balm to Kenna's wounded soul, and she walks home with a lightness in her step that she has not felt in years. As she approaches her apartment building, she notices a familiar figure waiting outside. It is Ledger, leaning against the wall with his hands in his pockets. Her heart leaps into her throat, a confusing mix of fear and hope flooding through her. She approaches him cautiously, asking what he is doing there. Ledger looks uncomfortable, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. He tells her that he has been thinking about their conversation, about what she said regarding Scotty and DM. He says that he does not fully trust her, that he is still wary of her intentions, but that he has also been unable to shake the feeling that he might be wrong about her. He tells her that he wants to give her a chance, not a big one, but a small one. He offers her a proposition. He will help her get a message to the Landrys, but only if she agrees to do it on his terms. He will not deliver her letter, but he will arrange for her to meet with Grace and Patrick in a controlled environment, somewhere neutral, so that she can speak to them face to face. The offer is surprising and terrifying, and Kenna stands frozen, trying to process what he is saying. Chapter 12 finds Kenna still reeling from Ledger's unexpected proposition. She has invited him up to her apartment, a small and sparse space that she feels oddly self-conscious about, but she needs to know more about his plan. Willow, the kitten, is curled up on the threadbare couch, and she regards Ledger with sleepy curiosity as he takes a seat in the one worn armchair. The atmosphere is tense, charged with the weight of the conversation they are about to have. Kenna sits across from him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, waiting for him to elaborate. Ledger explains his idea in more detail. He says that he has been thinking about the best way to approach Grace and Patrick without causing them further pain. He knows them well, understands their grief and their fierce protectiveness over DM. He suggests that he could invite them to the Clover for a private meeting, a neutral space where Kenna could speak to them without the threat of public spectacle. He warns her that they will be angry, that they might even walk out, but he believes that it is the only way she will ever have a chance to be heard. He also makes it clear that this is a one-time opportunity. If she messes it up, if she says the wrong thing or makes the situation worse, he will not help her again. Kenna listens with a pounding heart, her mind racing. The thought of facing Grace and Patrick terrifies her, but she also knows that this might be her only chance to reach them. She asks Ledger why he is doing this, why he is putting himself on the line for a woman he barely knows and clearly does not trust. Ledger is quiet for a moment, and when he speaks, his voice is low and thoughtful. He tells her that he has been haunted by the memory of Scotty, by the friendship they shared. He says that he believes Scotty loved her deeply, and he wonders if his best friend would want her to be shut out of DM's life forever. He is not doing this for her, he says. He is doing it for Scotty. Kenna feels a lump form in her throat at his words. She thanks him, her voice barely a whisper, and she promises that she will not let him down. She will be calm, she will be respectful, and she will do whatever it takes to make Grace and Patrick see that she is not the monster they believe her to be. Ledger nods, but his expression remains guarded. He tells her that he will talk to Grace and Patrick the next day and arrange the meeting for the following evening. He warns her once again to be prepared for the worst, to not get her hopes up too high. Then he leaves, the door clicking shut behind him, and Kenna is alone with her swirling thoughts. The rest of the evening is a blur of nervous energy. Kenna cannot sit still, pacing the small apartment as she rehearses what she will say. She tries to imagine Grace's face, Patrick's anger, the pain in their eyes. She thinks about DM, about the little girl who is the center of all of this, and she knows that she has to be strong for her daughter. She writes and rewrites a letter in her mind, crafting the perfect words to express her remorse and her love. But as the night wears on, the fear creeps in. What if they refuse to see her? What if they scream at her and throw her out? What if they call the police? The possibilities are endless, and they all end in failure. When dawn finally breaks, Kenna feels exhausted but resolute. She goes through the motions of her day at work, but her mind is elsewhere, fixated on the meeting that lies ahead. She counts down the hours, her anxiety mounting with each passing minute. She knows that tonight will be one of the most important nights of her life. It is her chance to begin the long, difficult process of healing the wounds she has caused. And as she walks to the Clover after her shift, the evening air cool against her skin, she prays that she will find the strength to face whatever awaits her. Chapter 13 opens with Kenna standing outside the Clover, her hand frozen in mid-air as she reaches for the door handle. The evening air is cool and damp, carrying the scent of rain that has not yet fallen, and she can feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Her heart is hammering so loudly she is certain Ledger can hear it from inside. She takes a deep breath, steadying herself, and then she pushes open the door. The bar is quiet, the usual patrons conspicuously absent, and she knows that Ledger has cleared the space for this meeting. Her eyes scan the room, and she sees him standing behind the counter, his expression tense and unreadable. But her gaze is immediately drawn to the table in the corner where Grace and Patrick Landry are sitting, their faces etched with pain and anger. Kenna's legs feel like they are made of lead as she walks toward them. She can feel Grace's eyes boring into her, filled with a hatred so deep it takes her breath away. Patrick is equally hostile, his jaw clenched and his hands balled into fists on the table. Ledger steps forward, acting as a mediator, and he introduces Kenna formally, as if they have never met. Grace cuts him off, her voice sharp and cold. She tells Kenna that she has no right to be here, that she has no right to even look at their granddaughter. The words are a slap to the face, and Kenna feels her carefully rehearsed speech evaporate from her mind. But she forces herself to speak, her voice trembling but clear. She tells Grace and Patrick that she knows they hate her, and she does not blame them. She says that she hates herself too, that she has spent every day of the last 5 years wishing she could undo what she did. She explains that she is not there to make excuses or to ask for their forgiveness. She knows she does not deserve it. She is there to ask for something far more difficult, a chance to know her daughter, just a small part of her life, a few moments to let DM know that her mother loved her and never stopped thinking about her. Grace's face crumples, and she shakes her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. She accuses Kenna of being selfish, of only thinking about her own needs while ignoring the devastation she caused. She says that DM is their child now, that they have raised her and loved her, and that Kenna has no claim to her. Patrick is quieter, but his eyes are filled with a cold fury that is somehow more terrifying than Grace's tears. He tells Kenna that she took their son away, that she robbed them of the chance to see him grow up, to see him get married, to see him become a father. He says that she does not get to waltz back into their lives and demand a piece of the only thing they have left of him. Kenna feels the tears spilling down her own cheeks now, and she does not try to stop them. She tells them about the letter she wrote, a letter she has carried with her for months, a letter that pours out every ounce of guilt, regret, and love she feels. She pulls it from her pocket and places it on the table between them, her hand shaking. She tells them that she is not asking for a relationship with them, not right now. She just wants them to read her words, to understand the depth of her remorse, and to know that she will spend the rest of her life trying to be worthy of the daughter she was never allowed to raise. The silence that follows is agonizing. Grace looks at the letter as if it might bite her, while Patrick stares at the wall, his expression unreadable. Ledger is watching from the bar, his hands gripping the edge of the counter. Finally, Grace reaches out and takes the letter, her fingers brushing against Kenna's for a brief moment. She does not say that she will read it, but she does not throw it away either. She tells Kenna that she needs to leave now, that she cannot think straight with her there. Kenna nods, wiping her cheeks, and she thanks them for listening. She turns and walks out of the clover, her heart breaking and healing in equal measure. She has said her piece, and now the rest is out of her hands. Chapter 14 shifts back to Ledger's perspective, and he is left alone in the clover with Grace and Patrick after Kenna's departure. The silence in the bar is thick and heavy, broken only by the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional sniffle from Grace. Ledger watches them from behind the counter, his heart aching for the pain he has just witnessed. He knows that he has put them in an impossible position, forcing them to confront the woman who represents their greatest loss. He wonders if he has done the right thing, or if he has only made everything worse. Grace is the first to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. She stares at the letter Kenna left on the table, turning it over in her hands as if it might explode. She asks Ledger why he did this, why he brought Kenna back into their lives after everything she took from them. Her voice is not angry, just tired and broken. Ledger walks over to their table and sits down across from them, his expression filled with regret. He tells them that he did not do it to hurt them, that he would never intentionally cause them pain. He explains that he has been struggling with his own feelings about Kenna, that he saw the raw pain in her eyes and the desperate love she has for Diem, and he could not shake the feeling that Scotty would have wanted her to have a chance. Patrick lets out a harsh laugh, but there is no humour in it. He says that Scotty is dead, that he does not get a say in any of this. He accuses Ledger of betraying their trust, of going behind their backs to help the woman who killed their son. The accusation stings, and Ledger feels a flash of anger, but he suppresses it. He tells Patrick that he understands his anger, that he would feel the same way in his position. But he also says that he has been thinking about Diem, about what will happen when she grows up and starts asking questions about her biological mother. He asks them if they want her to grow up hating Kenna, or if they want her to have the chance to form her own opinion. Grace looks up at him, her eyes red and swollen. She admits that she has thought about that too, about the day when Diem will inevitably ask about her mother. She has dreaded that conversation, knowing that she would have to explain the tragedy without making Kenna out to be a monster. She tells Ledger that she has never known how to handle it, that she has been burying the truth in the hope that it would never have to surface. She looks down at the letter in her hands, and she says that she does not know if she can read it, that she is afraid of what it will do to her. Ledger reaches across the table and takes her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. He tells her that she does not have to read it tonight, or even tomorrow. She can take all the time she needs. He tells her that he will support whatever decision she makes, whether it is to give Kenna a chance or to shut her out completely. He has done what he felt was right, and now the choice is hers. Grace nods, slipping the letter into her purse, and she and Patrick prepare to leave. Before they go, Grace turns to Ledger and thanks him, her voice thick with emotion. She says that she does not agree with what he did, but she knows he did it out of love for Scotty and for Diem. Ledger watches them go, feeling a strange mixture of relief and dread. He has opened a door, and now he has no idea what will come through it. Chapter 15 returns to Kenna, who is back in her apartment, curled up on the couch with Willow purring softly in her lap. The encounter at the Clover has left her emotionally drained, her tears spent, and her mind swirling with a chaotic mix of hope and despair. She replays every moment of the meeting in her head, analysing Grace's expressions, Patrick's cold fury, and the way Grace's fingers had brushed against hers when she took the letter. She clings to that small contact as a sign, however faint, that there might be a crack in the wall of their hatred. The night passes in a restless haze. Kenna barely sleeps, her thoughts racing with possibilities. She imagines Grace reading the letter, imagining her words sinking in, imagining a future where she might be allowed to hold her daughter. But she also imagines the letter being thrown into the trash, never to be read, and the door to Diem's life slamming shut forever. The uncertainty is agonizing, a torture that leaves her tossing and turning until the grey light of dawn seeps through her thin curtains. She drags herself to work the next morning, her body heavy with exhaustion. Carla takes one look at her and asks if she is okay, and Kenna forces a smile, telling her she just did not sleep well. She throws herself into her tasks, hoping that the physical labor will distract her from the gnawing anxiety in her chest. But her mind keeps drifting back to the letter, to Grace, to Diem. She finds herself staring at the clock, counting down the hours until she can go home and check her phone, hoping for a message from Ledger. Her shift finally ends, and she walks home with a frantic energy, her legs carrying her faster than she intended. She bursts into her apartment and immediately checks her phone. There is a message from Ledger, and her heart stops. She opens it with trembling fingers, and the message is brief. Grace read the letter, She wants to see you. Tomorrow. Same place, same time. Kenna reads the words over and over, unable to believe what she is seeing. Grace read the letter. Grace wants to see her. A sob escapes her throat, and she sinks to the floor, overwhelmed by a flood of emotion. The next evening feels like an eternity away. Kenna spends the entire day in a state of nervous anticipation, unable to eat, unable to focus. She prepares herself, choosing her outfit carefully, rehearsing what she will say. She knows that this meeting could go either way, that Grace might still reject her. But at least she is being given another chance. She arrives at the Clover early, her hands clammy and her heart racing. Ledger is there, and he gives her a small nod of encouragement. She takes her seat at the same table, and she waits. Grace arrives alone, without Patrick. She looks tired, her eyes red-rimmed, but there is a softness in her expression that was not there before. She sits down across from Kenna, and for a long moment, neither of them speaks. Then Grace reaches into her purse and pulls out the letter, now creased and worn from being read multiple times. She tells Kenna that she has read it over and over, that she has cried over it, that she has felt the weight of every word. She says that she still does not forgive Kenna, that she may never be able to forgive her, but she also says that she believes Kenna's love for DM is real. She offers Kenna a small, tentative olive branch. She will allow Kenna to meet DM just once, in a controlled setting with Grace present. It is not a full reconciliation, but it is a beginning. Kenna breaks down in tears, thanking Grace through her sobs, her heart overflowing with gratitude and hope. Chapter 16 opens with Kenna still in a state of disbelief, sitting across from Grace in the Clover, her tears streaming freely. Grace watches her with a complicated expression, a mixture of pain, pity, and reluctant understanding. She tells Kenna that this meeting with DM is not a permanent arrangement, but an experiment. It is a chance for Kenna to prove that she can be a stable and positive presence in her daughter's life. Grace makes it clear that she will be watching closely, that any misstep, any sign of instability, will end this arrangement immediately. Kenna nods vigorously, promising to follow every rule Grace sets, grateful for even this sliver of a chance. Grace outlines the plan. The meeting will take place at a neutral location, a small park near the Landry home, on the following Saturday afternoon. Grace will bring DM, and the three of them will spend an hour together. Kenna is not to bring anyone else, not Ledger, not any other support person. It will be just her, Grace, and DM. Kenna agrees to every condition, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and terror. She asks Grace what DM knows about her, whether she has been told about her mother. Grace's face tightens, and she admits that they have not told DM much, only that her mother lives far away. They wanted to protect her from the pain until she was old enough to understand. Kenna feels a pang of sadness at this, but she understands the reasoning. The conversation shifts to more practical matters. Grace asks Kenna about her current life, her job, her living situation. Kenna is honest, telling her about her job at the bookstore, her tiny apartment, her kitten Willow. She does not try to make her life sound better than it is. She wants Grace to see her as she truly is, a woman trying to rebuild herself from the ashes. Grace listens without judgment, and Kenna is grateful for the small mercy. When the conversation winds down, Grace stands to leave, and she looks at Kenna with a guarded but slightly softer gaze. She tells Kenna that she will see her on Saturday, and she walks out of the Clover without looking back. Kenna is left alone with Ledger, who has been quietly observing from the bar. He walks over to her table and sits down, his expression unreadable. He tells her that he was not sure Grace would come around, but he is glad she did. Kenna thanks him, her voice thick with emotion, and she tells him that she owes him everything. He waves off her gratitude, saying that he did not do it for her. He did it for Scotty and for DM, but there is a softening in his eyes, a hint of warmth that was not there before. He offers to walk her home, and she accepts, too overwhelmed to be alone. The walk is quiet, the evening air cool and peaceful. As they reach her apartment building, Ledger stops and turns to face her. He tells her that he has been thinking about her a lot, about the person she is versus the person he thought she was. He admits that he was wrong to judge her so harshly without knowing the full story. He says that he does not fully understand everything that happened that night, but he is beginning to see that there is more to her than her worst mistake. The admission is significant, and Kenna feels a warmth spread through her chest. She thanks him, and she tells him that his opinion matters to her more than he knows. They stand in silence for a moment, and then Ledger says goodnight and walks away. Kenna watches him go, a faint smile on her face, her heart lighter than it has been in years. She is going to meet her daughter in just a few days, and for the first time in a long time, the future feels full of possibility. Chapter 17 follows Kenna through the agonizing days leading up to Saturday. Time seems to move both impossibly fast and painfully slow, each hour stretching into an eternity, while also racing toward the moment she has been dreaming of for 5 long years. She goes through the motions of her daily life, working at the bookstore and caring for Willow, but her mind is entirely consumed by the upcoming meeting. She finds herself constantly checking the clock, counting down the minutes until she will finally hold her daughter in her arms. The preparation becomes an obsession. Kenna spends her evenings carefully planning every detail. She buys a small, simple toy, a plush bunny that she hopes DM will love. She chooses her outfit with meticulous care, wanting to appear warm and approachable but not trying too hard. She practices what she will say, rehearsing simple introductions and gentle questions that will not overwhelm a 4-year-old. She knows that this first meeting is fragile, that one wrong word or gesture could shatter the trust Grace has extended. The pressure is immense, but she channels her anxiety into preparation, determined to make this moment perfect. She also spends time reflecting on the past, on the relationship she had with Scotty and the dreams they shared. She thinks about the night she found out she was pregnant, the joy that had filled her heart despite the uncertainty of their situation. She remembers Scotty's face when she told him, the way his eyes had lit up with pure happiness. They had talked about names, about nurseries, about the future they would build together. All of that was stolen from them in a single, tragic night. Kenna feels the grief wash over her anew, but she also feels a fierce determination. She cannot bring Scotty back, but she can honor his memory by being the mother their daughter deserves. The night before the meeting, Kenna barely sleeps. She lies in bed, Willow curled up beside her, staring at the ceiling and running through every possible scenario. She imagines DM's face, the sound of her voice, the feeling of her small hand in hers. She also imagines the rejection, the possibility that DM might be scared or confused, that Grace might change her mind at the last minute. The fear is a cold knot in her stomach, but she forces herself to breathe, to trust that she has done everything she can to prepare. Saturday morning arrives, grey and overcast, but not unpleasant. Kenna dresses carefully, a simple floral blouse and jeans, and she holds the plush bunny in her trembling hands. She takes a final look in the mirror, offering herself a whispered word of encouragement. She arrives at the park early, her heart pounding so hard she can feel it in her throat. She finds a bench near the playground, the spot Grace had specified, and she sits down to wait. Each passing minute feels like an hour, and she scans the entrance obsessively, looking for the familiar figures of Grace and the little girl she has only seen from a distance. Then she sees them. Grace is walking toward the playground, holding DM's hand. The little girl is wearing a pink sundress, her blonde hair in pigtails, and she is chattering animatedly about something. Kenna's breath catches in her throat, and tears spring to her eyes. This is it. This is the moment she has been waiting for. She stands up, her legs shaky, and she watches as Grace spots her and gives a small, hesitant nod. DM notices her mother's attention shift, and she looks up, her curious eyes finding Kenna's face. The little girl tilts her head, studying the stranger with innocent wonder. Kenna smiles, her heart overflowing with love, and she takes a step forward, ready to meet her daughter for the very first time. Chapter 18 is the moment Kenna has been dreaming of for 5 long years, the first time she truly meets her daughter, DM. As Grace and DM approach, Kenna's heart pounds so violently she fears it might burst from her chest. She forces herself to stay calm, to keep her smile gentle and welcoming, even as tears threaten to spill from her eyes. Grace stops a few feet away, her hand resting protectively on DM's shoulder, and she introduces Kenna as a friend. DM looks up at Kenna with wide, curious eyes, her head tilted in that innocent way that children have when they are trying to figure out a new person. Kenna kneels down to DM's level, her legs trembling, and she holds out the plush bunny she brought as a gift. DM takes the bunny slowly, her small fingers wrapping around its soft fur. She looks at it, then back at Kenna, and a shy smile spreads across her face. She says thank you in a quiet, sweet voice, and the sound of her daughter's voice is the most beautiful thing Kenna has ever heard. She wants to pull DM into her arms and never let go, but she restrains herself, knowing that she has to earn that trust. Instead, she asks DM if she likes the playground, and DM nods enthusiastically, pointing at the swings. Kenna glances at Grace, who gives a small, reluctant nod of permission, and she follows DM to the swings, her heart soaring. The next hour is both the longest and the shortest of Kenna's life. She pushes DM on the swings, watching her laugh as she flies through the air. She helps her build a sandcastle in the sandbox, her hands working alongside her daughter's tiny fingers. She listens to DM chatter about her favorite cartoons, her dog, and her friends at preschool. Every word, every smile, every little gesture is a treasure that Kenna stores away in her heart. She is acutely aware of Grace watching from a nearby bench, her expression guarded but not hostile. Kenna knows that Grace is observing everything, evaluating whether this meeting is a mistake, and she is determined to prove that she can be a positive presence in DM's life. At one point, DM looks up at Kenna with her big blue eyes, the same shade as Scotty's, and she asks Kenna if she knows her daddy. The question catches Kenna off guard, and she feels a sharp pang of grief. She glances at Grace, who looks equally startled. But then Grace gives a slight nod, indicating that Kenna can answer. Kenna takes a breath, her voice soft and careful. She tells DM that she did know her daddy, that he was a wonderful person who loved her very much. She does not go into details, keeping it simple and age-appropriate, but she wants DM to know that her father was loved and that he would have adored her. DM seems satisfied with the answer, and she returns to her sandcastle, leaving Kenna with a mix of sorrow and gratitude. When the hour is up, Grace calls DM over, and Kenna feels her heart shatter at the prospect of saying goodbye. She helps DM brush the sand off her dress, and she tells her that she had a wonderful time playing with her. DM hugs the bunny to her chest and gives Kenna a shy wave, and Kenna watches as Grace leads her away. DM looks back once, giving Kenna a small smile, and then they disappear around the corner. Kenna stands alone in the park, tears streaming down her face. But they are not entirely tears of sadness. She has met her daughter. She has held her hand, heard her laugh, seen her smile. It is a beginning, a fragile and uncertain beginning, but it is more than she ever dared to hope for. She walks home on shaky legs, her heart fuller than it has been in 5 years, already counting down the days until she can see DM again. Chapter 19 shifts back to Ledger's perspective, and he is at the Clover, going through the motions of his daily routine. But his mind is elsewhere. He has been thinking about Kenna all day, wondering how the meeting with DM went, whether Grace allowed it to happen, whether Kenna is okay. He feels a strange sense of investment in her success, a feeling that surprises him with its intensity. He has gone from seeing her as a monster to seeing her as a broken woman trying to piece her life back together, and the shift in his perception has left him unsettled. The bar is quiet, the lunch rush over, and Ledger is wiping down the counter when his phone buzzes. It is a message from Kenna, and his heart skips a beat. He opens it, and her words are simple, but filled with emotion. It happened. I met her. She is perfect. Thank you for everything. Ledger reads the message several times, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He feels a surge of relief and happiness for her, emotions he never expected to feel. He types back a brief response, telling her that he is glad it went well and that she deserves this. It is a small gesture, but he knows it means a lot to her. Later that evening, Grace calls him. Her voice is tired but not angry, and she tells him about the meeting. She says that DM had a wonderful time, that she has not stopped talking about the nice lady with the bunny. Grace admits that she was terrified going into it, that she expected to feel nothing but rage and resentment. But watching Kenna with DM, seeing the genuine love in her eyes, softened something in her. She is not ready to forgive, and she does not know if she ever will be. But she can no longer deny that Kenna cares about her daughter. She tells Ledger that she is considering allowing more visits, supervised ones, if Kenna continues to prove herself stable and respectful. Ledger listens, offering words of encouragement and support. He knows how difficult this is for Grace, how much it costs her to extend this olive branch. He tells her that she is stronger than she knows, and that she is doing the right thing for DM. When the call ends, Ledger sits in the quiet bar, processing everything that has happened. He thinks about Kenna, about the way her face lit up when she spoke about DM, and he realizes that he wants to see her again. He wants to know more about her, about the person she is beyond her past mistakes. He sends her another message, this time asking if she would like to meet for coffee the next day. It is a casual invitation, nothing more, but it feels significant to him. He waits for her response, his heart pounding with an anxiety he does not fully understand. When her reply comes through, a simple yes, he feels a rush of excitement that catches him off guard. He tells himself that it is just coffee, just two people getting to know each other. But deep down, he knows that it is something more. His feelings for Kenna are evolving in ways he never anticipated, and he is not sure what to do with them. All he knows is that he wants to see her again, and that is enough for now. Chapter 20 takes Kenna and Ledger to a small, quiet coffee shop on the outskirts of town. The atmosphere is intimate and unhurried, a stark contrast to the bustling energy of the Clover. Kenna arrives first, her nerves jangling as she orders a simple tea and finds a table by the window. She watches the door with anticipation, her heart fluttering when Ledger walks in. He looks different outside of the bar, more relaxed in a simple Henley and jeans, and she feels a warmth spread through her at the sight of him. He orders a coffee and joins her at the table, offering a tentative smile that she returns. The conversation starts slowly, a little awkward, both of them navigating the unfamiliar territory of a casual meeting. They talk about small things at first: her job at the bookstore, his routine at the bar, the antics of her kitten Willow. But gradually the walls begin to lower, and they find themselves sharing more personal stories. Ledger tells her about his childhood, about growing up with Scotty as his best friend, about the dreams they had of running the Clover together. He speaks of Scotty with a fondness that brings tears to Kenna's eyes, and she listens with a mixture of joy and grief, grateful to hear about the man she loved, from someone who knew him so well. Kenna, in turn, opens up about her own past, her difficult childhood, her strained relationship with her parents, and how meeting Scotty had been the first time she felt truly seen and loved. She tells Ledger about the night of the accident, the details she has never shared with anyone. She explains how they had been arguing, how she had been driving too fast in her anger, how the car had hydroplaned on the wet road. She describes the moment of impact, the terrifying silence, and her frantic attempt to wake Scotty. She tells him about the guilt she carries, the belief that she should have done more, that she should have stayed and called for help instead of panicking and running. By the end of her confession, she is crying, and Ledger reaches across the table to take her hand. His touch is warm and steady, and he does not pull away. He tells her that he has been thinking about that night too, about the rumors he heard and the judgments he made without knowing the full story. He says that he is sorry for the way he treated her, for assuming the worst without giving her a chance to explain. He tells her that he sees her now, the real her, and he believes that she is a good person who made a terrible mistake. The validation is overwhelming, and Kenna squeezes his hand, unable to find the words to express her gratitude. The coffee shop begins to fill up, and they realize they have been talking for hours. Ledger offers to walk her home, and she accepts, enjoying the comfortable silence that falls between them. As they walk through the quiet streets, the evening air cool against their skin, Ledger stops and turns to face her. He tells her that he wants to be there for her, that he wants to support her as she navigates this difficult journey. He says that he does not know what the future holds, but he wants to be a part of it. Kenna looks into his eyes, seeing the sincerity and the warmth there, and she feels a flicker of something she has not felt in a long time: hope for a future that includes love and happiness. She tells him that she would like that too, and they share a smile that promises more to come. Chapter 21 returns to Kenna's perspective, and she is floating on a cloud of happiness after her coffee date with Ledger. The evening had been everything she did not know she needed: a conversation that felt both easy and profound, a connection that surprised her with its depth. She lies in bed that night, Willow curled up beside her, replaying every moment of their time together. The way he had looked at her, the warmth of his hand on hers, the sincerity in his voice when he said he wanted to be part of her future. It is terrifying and exhilarating, a feeling she has not allowed herself to experience since Scotty died. The next morning, Kenna wakes with a renewed sense of purpose. She has a job she enjoys, a tentative relationship with Grace, the beginning of a connection with her daughter, and now the possibility of something more with Ledger. For the first time in 5 years, she feels like her life is moving in the right direction. She goes to work with a smile on her face, and even Carla notices the change, commenting that she looks happy. Kenna admits that she is, that things are finally starting to look up, and Carla gives her an encouraging pat on the shoulder. But the happiness is fragile, and Kenna knows it. She thinks about Grace and the fragile trust that has been extended to her. She knows that one misstep could shatter everything. She thinks about Patrick, who has not spoken to her since the meeting at the Clover, whose anger remains a simmering presence in the background. She thinks about the town, the whispers and the stares that still follow her wherever she goes. The path forward is not easy, but she is determined to walk it, one step at a time. Later that afternoon, Kenna receives a call from Grace. Her heart pounds as she answers, her mind racing with worry. But Grace's voice is calm, even a little warm, and she tells Kenna that she would like to arrange another visit with DM. She suggests the following weekend, a longer visit this time, perhaps a picnic in the park. Kenna is speechless, overwhelmed by the generosity of the offer. She thanks Grace profusely, promising to be there, promising to be careful and respectful. Grace tells her that she has been thinking about what Ledger said, about giving DM the chance to know her mother, and she believes it is the right thing to do. It is not forgiveness, she repeats, but it is a step forward. Kenna hangs up the phone, tears streaming down her face. She calls Ledger immediately, her voice trembling with excitement, and she tells him the news. He is genuinely happy for her, his voice warm and supportive. He offers to help her prepare for the picnic, to come with her to the park if she wants, but Kenna decides that she wants to do this alone. It is important to her that she builds this relationship with DM on her own, without leaning on Ledger as a crutch. She tells him that she will see him soon, and they end the call with a promise to talk later. The rest of the week is a blur of preparation and anticipation. Kenna plans the perfect picnic, buying a small blanket, preparing simple snacks, and picking out a new toy for DM. She thinks about the little girl constantly, imagining her laugh, her smile, the way her small hand had felt in hers. She also thinks about Ledger, about the connection they are building, and she allows herself to dream about a future where she has both her daughter and a man who sees her for who she truly is. It is a fragile hope, but it is a hope nonetheless, and she holds onto it with all her strength. Chapter 22 is the day of the picnic, and Kenna wakes up with a nervous energy thrumming through her veins. She has prepared everything the night before: the blanket, the snacks, the small kite she bought for DM, and a little book of fairy tales she found at the bookstore. She dresses in a comfortable sundress and braids her hair, wanting to look approachable and put together without appearing like she is trying too hard. She takes a deep breath, looks at herself in the mirror, and whispers a quiet prayer that everything goes well. The park is beautiful, bathed in warm sunlight, with a gentle breeze that rustles the leaves. Kenna arrives early and finds the perfect spot, a grassy area near a small pond where DM can run and play. She spreads the blanket and arranges the snacks, her hands trembling slightly. She waits, her eyes fixed on the entrance, her heart leaping when she spots Grace's familiar figure approaching. DM is with her, holding Grace's hand and clutching the plush bunny Kenna gave her at their first meeting. The sight of the little girl carrying the bunny fills Kenna with a warmth that spreads through her entire body. Grace greets her with a small, hesitant smile, and DM immediately runs toward Kenna, her pigtails bouncing. She stops in front of Kenna, looking up at her with those big blue eyes that are so like Scotty's. She says hello, her voice shy but curious, and Kenna's heart melts. She kneels down to DM's level, showing her the kite and the book, and DM's face lights up with excitement. The next few hours are pure magic. Kenna helps DM fly the kite, watching it soar into the blue sky as her daughter laughs with pure joy. She reads her the fairy tales, doing silly voices for the characters and making DM giggle. They share the snacks, and Kenna learns that DM loves strawberries and cheese, just like her father did. Grace sits nearby, watching the interaction with a guarded but softening expression. She does not interfere, allowing Kenna and DM to bond naturally. At one point, DM climbs onto Kenna's lap, her small body warm and trusting, and Kenna wraps her arms around her, feeling the overwhelming love that she has been holding in her heart for 5 years. She breathes in the scent of her daughter's hair, and she silently promises to protect this child, to be the mother she deserves, no matter what it takes. As the afternoon begins to wane, Grace announces that it is time to go. DM protests, begging for just a few more minutes, and Kenna feels a bittersweet pang. She helps DM gather her things, and DM gives her a fierce hug, her small arms squeezing around Kenna's neck. Kenna hugs her back, her eyes burning with unshed tears, and she tells DM that she will see her again soon. DM nods, taking Grace's hand, and she waves goodbye as they walk away. Kenna watches them go, her heart full to bursting. Grace lingers for a moment, turning back to look at Kenna. She says that she can see how much Kenna loves DM, that it is written all over her face. She admits that she is still struggling, that the pain of losing Scotty is still raw, but she is beginning to believe that allowing Kenna into DM's life might not be a mistake. Kenna thanks her, her voice thick with emotion, and Grace nods, walking away to join her granddaughter. Kenna stands alone in the park, the fading sunlight casting a golden glow around her, and she feels a sense of peace she has not felt in years. She is building something beautiful, something precious, and she will not let anything shatter it. Chapter 23 shifts back to Ledger, and he is behind the bar at the Clover, but his mind is far from the usual business of serving drinks and managing his staff. He has been thinking about Kenna all day, wondering how the picnic went, whether she and DM had a good time, whether Grace is starting to soften. He feels a protective warmth toward Kenna, a desire to see her happy and to be part of her journey. It is a feeling that has grown stronger with each passing day, and he is no longer trying to deny it. His phone buzzes with a message from Kenna, and he grabs it quickly, his heart skipping a beat. She tells him that the picnic was wonderful, that DM hugged her, that she feels like things are finally falling into place. He can almost hear the joy in her voice through the text, and he smiles, typing back a heartfelt response. He tells her that he is so happy for her, that she deserves every good thing coming her way. They exchange a few more messages, light and playful, and Ledger feels a warmth spread through his chest. He has not felt this way about anyone in a long time, and it is both thrilling and terrifying. Later that evening, Grace comes into the Clover, alone. Ledger is surprised to see her, as she rarely visits the bar, especially without Patrick. She takes a seat at the counter, and he pours her a glass of wine, sensing that she has something on her mind. Grace is quiet for a moment, swirling the wine in her glass, and then she speaks. She tells Ledger that she watched Kenna with DM today, that she saw the love in her eyes, and she realizes that she has been clinging to her anger for so long that she forgot how to see Kenna as anything other than the woman who took her son. She says that it is not forgiveness, not yet, but she is starting to understand that DM deserves to know her mother. Ledger listens, offering a supportive ear. He tells Grace that he understands how difficult this is for her, and he admires her strength for being willing to take this step. He says that Scotty would be proud of her, that he would want DM to have all the love in the world, including Kenna's love. Grace nods, tears glistening in her eyes, and she thanks him for being such a steadfast presence in their lives. She tells him that she does not know what they would have done without him, and Ledger feels a lump form in his throat. He has always seen himself as a protector, a pillar of support for the Landrys, and he is grateful that he can continue to be that for them. After Grace leaves, Ledger closes the bar early, feeling a restless energy that he cannot shake. He decides to walk to Kenna's apartment, wanting to see her in person, to share in her joy. He knocks on her door, and when she opens it, her face lights up with surprise and happiness. She invites him in, and they sit on her worn couch, Willow curling up between them. They talk for hours about the picnic, about DM, about their hopes for the future. Ledger finds himself telling her things he has never told anyone. His fears, his dreams, the loneliness he has carried since Scotty's death. Kenna listens, her eyes soft and understanding, and she shares her own vulnerabilities in return. The night deepens, and the conversation grows quieter, more intimate. Ledger reaches out and takes her hand, and she does not pull away. He looks into her eyes, and he knows that he is falling for her, that the connection between them is real and undeniable. He leans in, and she meets him halfway, their lips brushing in a soft, tentative kiss. It is gentle and sweet, a promise of something more. When they pull apart, Kenna is smiling, her cheeks flushed, and Ledger feels his heart swell with hope. He has found something unexpected in this woman, a love that he did not see coming, and he is ready to embrace it. Chapter 24 returns to Kenna, and she is still floating from the kiss she shared with Ledger the night before. She has replayed the moment 100 times in her mind, the softness of his lips, the warmth of his hand in hers, the way he looked at her with such tenderness. It feels surreal, a dream she is afraid to wake up from. She lies in bed that morning, Willow purring beside her, a smile permanently fixed on her face. She has not felt this happy in years, and the feeling is both exhilarating and terrifying. Her phone buzzes with a message from Ledger, a simple good morning text that makes her heart flutter. She responds with a string of heart emojis, and they exchange playful messages throughout the morning. He tells her that he cannot stop thinking about her, that he wants to see her again soon. She agrees, and they make plans to meet for dinner at a small Italian place in the next town over, a neutral location where they can be themselves without the weight of the town's judgment. The anticipation makes her giddy, and she goes through her workday with a lightness in her step. But the happiness is tempered by the reality of her situation. She thinks about Grace and Patrick, about the fragile trust she is building with them. She wonders how they would react if they knew about her growing relationship with Ledger. Would they see it as a betrayal? Would it undo all the progress she has made? The thought fills her with anxiety, and she resolves to be careful, to keep this part of her life separate until she is sure it is stable. She does not want to jeopardize her relationship with DM, not for anything. That evening, Kenna meets Ledger at the Italian restaurant. The drive is short, and she arrives to find him already there, waiting at a cozy table in the corner. He stands when he sees her, pulling out her chair with a charming smile, and she feels a warmth spread through her. The dinner is wonderful, filled with laughter and easy conversation. They talk about their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Ledger tells her about the pressure he feels to be the perfect guardian for the Landrys, the weight of responsibility that sometimes keeps him up at night. Kenna listens, offering comfort and understanding. At the end of the meal, Ledger reaches across the table and takes her hand. He tells her that he knows their relationship is complicated, that there are 1,000 reasons why it should not work, but he does not care about any of them. He says that he has never felt this way about anyone, that she makes him feel alive in a way he has not felt since Scotty died. Kenna squeezes his hand, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. She tells him that she feels the same way, that he has become her anchor in the storm of her life. They share a tender kiss, sealing their promise to each other. Driving home that night, Kenna is filled with a sense of peace and hope. She thinks about DM, about Grace, about the future she is building. She knows that there will be challenges ahead, that not everyone will accept her and Ledger, but she is ready to face them. For the first time in her life, she feels like she is exactly where she is meant to be. She has her daughter. She has a man who loves her. And she has a second chance at happiness. She will not let it slip away. Chapter 25 shifts back to Ledger, and he is in his apartment the morning after the dinner date, still buzzing from the evening he shared with Kenna. He lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, a smile playing on his lips as he replays every moment. The way she laughed at his jokes, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about DM, the way she fit perfectly in his arms when they kissed goodbye. He has never felt this way about anyone. Not really. And the realization is both thrilling and terrifying. He knows that their relationship is complicated, that there are 1,000 obstacles in their path. But for the first time in years, he feels like he has something worth fighting for. He gets up and goes through his morning routine, but his mind keeps drifting back to Kenna. He thinks about the Landrys, about Grace and Patrick, and he wonders how they will react when they find out about his relationship with her. He knows that Grace is starting to soften, that she is beginning to see Kenna as more than just the woman who killed her son, but he also knows that Patrick's anger runs deep. He is not sure if they will ever accept Kenna as part of DM's life, let alone as his partner. The thought fills him with anxiety, but he pushes it aside. He will cross that bridge when he comes to it. Later that morning, Ledger receives a call from Grace. His heart pounds as he answers, hoping that it is good news. Grace's voice is warm, and she tells him that she has been thinking about the picnic, about how happy DM was, and she has decided to allow more frequent visits between Kenna and her daughter. She says that she wants to take things slowly, but she believes that Kenna deserves a chance to be part of DM's life. Ledger feels a wave of relief and joy, and he tells Grace that he is proud of her for being so generous and brave. He does not tell her about his relationship with Kenna, not yet, but he feels a glimmer of hope that the truth might eventually be accepted. The rest of the day is busy at the Clover, but Ledger's mind is elsewhere. He texts Kenna throughout the day, sharing small moments and sweet nothings. He tells her about Grace's decision, and she responds with a flood of happy emojis and a promise to celebrate. They make plans to meet the next evening, a quiet night in at her apartment, just the two of them and Willow. The anticipation of seeing her again is almost too much to bear, and he counts down the hours until he can hold her in his arms. That evening, as Ledger is closing up the bar, Patrick walks in. The older man's face is grim, his posture rigid, and Ledger knows immediately that something is wrong. Patrick does not mince words. He tells Ledger that he has heard rumors, whispers that Ledger has been spending time with Kenna, that there is something more than friendship between them. His voice is cold, accusing, and his eyes are filled with betrayal. He asks Ledger if the rumors are true, and Ledger feels his heart sink. He has been dreading this moment, but he knows he cannot lie. He tells Patrick the truth, that he has developed feelings for Kenna, that he believes she deserves a second chance. The confession hangs in the air, and Patrick's face twists with fury. He tells Ledger that he has betrayed their family, that he has chosen the woman who killed their son over the people who loved him. Ledger tries to explain, tries to make him understand, but Patrick is beyond reason. He storms out of the bar, leaving Ledger alone with the weight of his guilt and fear. Chapter 26 returns to Kenna, and she is in her apartment, preparing for her evening with Ledger. She has set out candles, ordered takeout from a small Thai place she loves, and made sure Willow has fresh food and water. Her heart is light, filled with the anticipation of seeing him again, of sharing another intimate evening together. She has even bought a new dress, a simple navy blue number that she hopes he will like. She feels beautiful, desired, and alive in a way she has not felt in years. But her happiness is shattered when her phone rings. It is Grace, and her voice is strained, filled with a pain that Kenna has not heard since their first meeting. Grace tells her that Patrick has come home in a rage, that he has confronted Ledger about his relationship with Kenna. She says that Patrick feels betrayed, that he believes Ledger has turned his back on their family. Kenna's blood runs cold, her heart plummeting into her stomach. She had known this day might come, but she was not prepared for it, not like this. She thanks Grace for telling her, her voice barely a whisper, and she ends the call, feeling the world tilt beneath her feet. Kenna sinks onto her couch, her hands trembling. She thinks about Ledger, about the confrontation he must have endured, and her heart aches for him. She also thinks about Patrick, about the deep, festering wound that his anger represents. She knows that she is the cause of this pain, that her very presence in their lives has stirred up old grief. The guilt washes over her, suffocating and relentless. She wonders if she has been selfish, if her desire to know her daughter has caused more harm than good. The thought is unbearable. Her phone buzzes with a message from Ledger. He tells her that Patrick came to the bar, that he knows about them, that he is furious. Ledger apologizes, saying that he never meant for this to happen, that he is sorry for the pain it will cause her. Kenna types back a response, telling him that it is not his fault, that she knew this was a risk. She tells him that she still wants to see him, that she needs him tonight more than ever. He agrees, and they make plans for him to come over as soon as he closes the bar. When Ledger arrives, Kenna can see the exhaustion and guilt written all over his face. She opens her arms to him, and he falls into them, holding her tightly. They sit on the couch, Willow curling up between them, and they talk for hours about what happened. Ledger tells her about Patrick's accusations, about the pain in his eyes, about the fear that he has lost one of the most important people in his life. Kenna listens, her heart breaking for him. She tells him that she understands if he needs to step back from their relationship, that she does not want to cost him his family. But Ledger shakes his head, taking her face in his hands. He tells her that he is not going anywhere, that she is worth fighting for. He loves her, he says, and he will not let Patrick's anger tear them apart. Kenna feels tears streaming down her face, a mix of relief and love. She tells him that she loves him too, that he has become her rock, her anchor in the storm. They hold each other, drawing strength from their connection. Kenna knows that the road ahead will be difficult, that Patrick's anger will not fade overnight, but she also knows that she and Ledger are stronger together. They will face whatever comes, hand in hand, and they will not let the past destroy their future. Chapter 27 opens with Kenna and Ledger still tangled together on the couch, the night having stretched into the early hours of the morning. They have talked through every angle of the situation with Patrick, and while no solutions have been found, they have found comfort in each other's presence. Ledger's head is resting in her lap, and she is running her fingers through his hair, the simple intimacy of the gesture soothing her frayed nerves. She knows that she should be terrified, that Patrick's anger could undo all the progress she has made, but with Ledger beside her, she feels like she can face anything. As dawn begins to break, Ledger stirs, looking up at her with sleepy, adoring eyes. He tells her that he should probably go, that he has to open the bar in a few hours, but he does not want to leave. Kenna understands the feeling, but she also knows that they both need to face the day ahead. She walks him to the door, and they share a long, lingering kiss, a promise of strength and unity. When he is gone, Kenna closes the door and leans against it, her heart heavy but not broken. She has Ledger's love, and that gives her the courage to keep moving forward. The next few days are tense. Kenna goes to work, throws herself into her tasks, and tries to maintain a sense of normalcy. She knows that Patrick's anger is a storm waiting to break, and she is braced for impact. She has not heard from Grace since the phone call, and the silence is unnerving. She wonders if Grace is distancing herself, if the fragile trust they have built has been shattered. The uncertainty gnaws at her, making it difficult to focus on anything else. Then, on the third day, Kenna receives a call from Grace. Her voice is tired, but not hostile, and she asks Kenna to meet her at a small cafe in town. Kenna agrees, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. She arrives at the cafe to find Grace already seated at a corner table, a cup of tea untouched in front of her. Kenna sits down across from her, bracing herself for the worst. Grace looks at her for a long moment, her eyes searching Kenna's face, and then she speaks. She tells Kenna that Patrick is not ready to accept her, that his anger is still too raw, but she does not share his feelings. She says that she has been thinking about the picnic, about the way DM's face lit up when she saw Kenna, and she cannot deny that Kenna's presence in her granddaughter's life has brought joy to the little girl. She tells Kenna that she still wants her to see DM, that she will not let Patrick's anger stand in the way of what is right for her granddaughter. Kenna feels tears prick at her eyes, overwhelmed by Grace's generosity. She thanks her, her voice thick with emotion, and she promises that she will never take this gift for granted. Grace nods, a small, sad smile on her face. She tells Kenna that she is not sure if Patrick will ever come around, but she is willing to give Kenna a chance. She also tells Kenna that she knows about her relationship with Ledger, and while it is complicated, she does not judge her for it. She says that Ledger has been a son to her, and she wants him to be happy, even if that happiness comes from an unexpected source. Kenna leaves the cafe with a renewed sense of hope, her heart lighter than it has been in days. She has Grace's support, Ledger's love, and the promise of more time with her daughter. It is not a perfect solution, but it is a step forward, and she will take it. Chapter 28 shifts to Ledger, and he is at the Clover, going through the motions of his day, but his mind is elsewhere. He has been thinking about Patrick constantly, the anger in his eyes, the pain in his voice. He knows that he has hurt one of the people he loves most, and the guilt is a heavy weight on his shoulders. He has tried to reach out to Patrick, to explain himself, to make him understand, but Patrick has refused to take his calls. The silence is deafening, a chasm that feels impossible to bridge. Ledger's thoughts are interrupted by the bell above the door. He looks up, and his heart stops. Patrick is standing there, his face grim but not as hostile as it was the night of the confrontation. Ledger braces himself, expecting another round of accusations, but Patrick simply walks to the counter and takes a seat. He orders a whiskey, his voice flat, and Ledger pours it without a word. The silence stretches between them, heavy and uncomfortable, and Ledger waits for Patrick to speak first. When Patrick finally does, his voice is low and rough. He tells Ledger that he has been thinking about everything, about Scotty, about Kenna, about the years of grief that have shaped their lives. He admits that his anger has been a shield, a way to protect himself from the pain of losing his son. He says that he has been so consumed by his hatred for Kenna that he has forgotten how to see her as anything other than the woman who took his child. He tells Ledger that he does not understand his relationship with her, that it feels like a betrayal, but he also knows that Ledger has always been there for their family, that he has been a son to them in Scotty's absence. He says that he is willing to try to understand, even if it takes time. Ledger feels a wave of relief so intense it almost brings him to his knees. He tells Patrick that he loves him and Grace like family, that he never meant to hurt them, and that his feelings for Kenna are real and genuine. He explains that he sees a different person in Kenna, a woman who is trying to rebuild her life and who loves DM with all her heart. Patrick listens, his expression unreadable, and when Ledger is finished, he nods slowly. He does not offer forgiveness, not yet, but he says that he is willing to be open-minded. He finishes his whiskey, stands up, and leaves the bar without another word. Ledger watches him go, his heart pounding, feeling like a door has cracked open just a little. That evening, Ledger goes to Kenna's apartment. He tells her about the conversation, about Patrick's willingness to try, and she bursts into tears of relief. They hold each other, the weight of the past few days lifting just a little. Kenna tells him that Grace has also been supportive, that she has promised to keep the door open for visits with DM. They share a quiet dinner, talking about the future, about the possibility of a world where Patrick's anger fades and their relationship is accepted. It is a fragile hope, but it is a hope nonetheless, and they cling to it. Later that night, as they lie in bed together, Ledger looks at Kenna, her face peaceful in sleep, and he feels a surge of love so powerful it takes his breath away. He knows that their path will not be easy, that there will be more obstacles ahead, but he is ready to face them. He has found something precious in this woman, a love that he never expected, and he will fight for it with everything he has. Chapter 29 returns to Kenna, and the fragile peace that has settled over her life feels almost surreal. The days following Patrick's tentative olive branch have been quiet, a welcome reprieve from the constant turmoil. She has continued her visits with DM, each one more joyful than the last, and she has felt her bond with her daughter deepen in ways she never dared to imagine. DM now looks for her with eager anticipation, her small face lighting up the moment she sees Kenna approach. The love between them is blossoming, natural and unforced, and it fills Kenna with a sense of purpose she has not felt in years. Work has also been a source of stability. Carla has praised her dedication, and Kenna has even been given more responsibilities at the bookstore. She is beginning to feel like a normal person, like someone who has a future and a place in the world. The town's whispers have not entirely stopped, but they have faded to a dull hum that she can mostly ignore. She has Ledger, she has DM, and she has the tentative support of Grace. It is more than she ever thought she would have, and she is grateful for every single piece of it. One evening, Kenna receives an unexpected call from Grace. Her voice is warm, but there is an undercurrent of something else, a nervousness that Kenna does not immediately recognize. Grace asks if Kenna would like to come over to the house for dinner the following weekend, a casual meal with her, Patrick, and DM. Kenna is stunned. The Landry home has been a forbidden place, a symbol of everything she has lost and everything she is trying to reclaim. The invitation feels monumental, a sign that Grace is truly opening her heart. Kenna accepts, her voice trembling with emotion, and she ends the call with a sense of disbelief. The next few days are a whirlwind of preparation and anxiety. Kenna spends hours trying to decide what to wear, what to bring, what to say. She wants to make a good impression, to show Patrick that she is not a threat, that she is simply a woman who loves her daughter. Ledger offers his support, telling her that she will do great and that he will be there for her every step of the way. She clings to his words, drawing strength from his unwavering faith in her. The evening of the dinner arrives, and Kenna stands outside the Landry home, her heart pounding in her chest. The house looks the same as it did years ago, warm and inviting, with a small garden that Grace has clearly maintained with love. Kenna takes a deep breath, smoothing down her dress, and she knocks on the door. Grace answers, her face breaking into a tentative smile. She welcomes Kenna inside, and the warmth of the home envelops her. DM comes running, throwing her arms around Kenna's legs, and the love in the little girl's eyes washes away some of Kenna's fear. Patrick is in the living room, sitting in his armchair, his expression guarded but not hostile. He nods in greeting, and Kenna returns the gesture, not expecting more. The dinner is awkward at first, stilted conversation and careful silences, but gradually the ice begins to thaw. Grace asks Kenna about her work, her life, her hopes for the future. DM chatters away, oblivious to the tension, and her innocence is a balm to the room. By the end of the meal, Patrick has even cracked a small smile at one of DM's antics. It is not a full reconciliation, but it is a start. Kenna leaves the Landry home that night with a full heart, the first real step toward healing finally taken. Chapter 30 shifts back to Ledger, and he is waiting for Kenna at her apartment when she returns from the Landry dinner. He has been pacing the small space, Willow watching him with curious eyes, his nerves stretched thin with anticipation. The moment she walks through the door, he can see the joy radiating from her, the tears of happiness glistening in her eyes, and he knows that the evening went better than either of them could have hoped. She falls into his arms, burying her face in his chest, and he holds her tightly, feeling her body tremble with the release of all the tension she has been carrying. Kenna tells him everything. The awkward silences, DM's joyful chatter, Grace's warmth, and even Patrick's small smile. She tells him that she felt like she was finally being seen, not as the woman who killed their son, but as a mother who loves her child. Ledger listens, his heart swelling with pride and love for her. He tells her that he is so proud of her, that she has been so brave, and that she deserves every good thing that is coming her way. They share a quiet celebration, a glass of wine, and a conversation that stretches late into the night, filled with dreams of the future. The next morning, Ledger wakes up with a sense of peace that has been elusive for so long. He goes through his day at the Clover with a lightness in his step, the usual stress of the job feeling more manageable. He texts Kenna throughout the day, sharing small moments and sweet nothings, and her responses fill him with warmth. He feels like his life is finally falling into place, like all the pieces are coming together in a way he never expected. But later that evening, he receives a call from Grace that shatters his peace. Her voice is panicked, barely coherent, and it takes him a moment to understand what she is saying. DM has been in an accident. She fell from the swings at the park, hit her head, and is being rushed to the hospital. Ledger's world stops. He grabs his keys, his heart pounding, and he races to the hospital, his mind filled with 1,000 terrifying thoughts. He calls Kenna on the way, his voice shaking as he tells her what happened, and he can hear the raw terror in her response. The hospital waiting room is a blur of white walls and fluorescent lights. Grace is there, weeping, and Patrick is pacing, his face pale and drawn. Ledger wraps his arms around Grace, trying to offer comfort, but he feels just as helpless as she does. Kenna arrives moments later, her face streaked with tears, and she falls into Ledger's arms, sobbing. They wait together, an agonizing eternity, until a doctor finally emerges. He tells them that DM has a concussion and a mild fracture, but she is going to be okay. She is awake and asking for her family. The relief is overwhelming, and Kenna collapses against Ledger, her body racked with sobs of relief. They are allowed to see DM in small groups, and Kenna is one of the first to enter. She holds her daughter's hand, whispering words of love, and DM looks up at her with tired but trusting eyes. In that moment, Kenna knows that no matter what happens, she will always be DM's mother, and she will never let anything hurt her again. The fear of almost losing her daughter has solidified her resolve to fight for their future, no matter the cost. Chapter 31 returns to Kenna, and she is sitting by DM's hospital bed, her daughter's small hand clasped in hers. The room is quiet, save for the soft beeping of the monitors and the gentle rhythm of DM's breathing. She has been asleep for the past hour, the medication finally easing her into a restful slumber, and Kenna has not moved from her side. She studies DM's face, the delicate curve of her eyelashes, the tiny freckles across her nose, the way her lips part slightly as she dreams. She looks so much like Scotty, and the sight fills Kenna with a bittersweet ache. The hours have blurred together since the accident. Kenna has not eaten, has not slept, has not thought about anything other than her daughter's well-being. Grace and Patrick have taken turns keeping vigil, and Ledger has been a steady presence, bringing coffee and offering quiet words of encouragement. But now, in the quiet of the early morning, it is just Kenna and DM. She whispers to her daughter, telling her how much she loves her, how sorry she is for all the years she missed, and how she will spend the rest of her life making up for them. She makes promises she intends to keep, vows to be the mother DM deserves. As the sun begins to rise, casting a pale golden light through the hospital window, DM stirs. Her eyes flutter open, unfocused at first, and then they land on Kenna's face. A slow, sleepy smile spreads across her lips, and she whispers Kenna's name, her voice soft and hoarse. Kenna feels her heart crack open with love. She leans forward, pressing a gentle kiss to DM's forehead, and she tells her that she is safe, that everything is going to be okay. DM nods, her eyes already drifting closed again, but her hand tightens around Kenna's, holding on even in sleep. Later that morning, the doctor returns to check on DM's progress. He is pleased with her recovery, saying that she is young and resilient, and that she should be able to go home in a day or two. The relief that floods through Kenna is palpable, and she sees the same relief mirrored in Grace and Patrick's faces. They gather around DM's bed, a fragile but united family, and Kenna feels a sense of belonging that she has not felt in years. She is not the outsider anymore, not the villain. She is DM's mother, and she is part of this family, however tentatively. That evening, Grace pulls Kenna aside. Her eyes are red-rimmed, but her expression is soft and sincere. She tells Kenna that she has been thinking about everything, about the accident, about how close they came to losing DM. She says that life is too short to hold on to anger and resentment, that she does not want to waste any more time living in the past. She tells Kenna that she forgives her. The words hang in the air, heavy and profound. Kenna feels the tears streaming down her face, unable to speak. Grace takes her hands, squeezing them, and tells her that she wants her to be part of DM's life, fully and completely. She wants her to be a grandmother to DM, a mother to her granddaughter, and she wants them to move forward together. Kenna throws her arms around Grace, sobbing into her shoulder. She thanks her over and over, her voice breaking with emotion. Grace holds her, patting her back, And when they finally pull apart, there is a new understanding between them. The anger and grief have not disappeared, but they have been transformed into something more manageable, something that can coexist with love and hope. Kenna walks back to DM's room, her heart lighter than it has been in years, and she knows that this is the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one filled with forgiveness, healing, and the love of her daughter. Chapter 32 shifts to Ledger, and he is at the Clover, but his mind is miles away at the hospital with Kenna and DM. He has been trying to keep busy, to focus on the mundane tasks of running the bar, but the worry for DM and the love he feels for Kenna consume his thoughts. He has just received word that DM is doing well and will be discharged the next day, and the relief that washes over him is profound. He cannot wait to see Kenna, to hold her, to share in the joy of their daughter's recovery. That evening, Ledger closes the bar early and heads to Kenna's apartment. She is there, exhausted but radiant, her eyes still red from the tears of the past days. She falls into his arms, and they hold each other for a long time, drawing strength from their connection. Kenna tells him about Grace's forgiveness, about the words that healed a wound she thought would never close. Ledger listens, his heart swelling with pride for the woman he loves. He tells her that she deserves this, that she has fought so hard and come so far, and that he is honored to be by her side. They talk late into the night, about the future, about the possibility of building a life together. Kenna tells him that she wants him to be part of DM's life, that she wants him to be a father figure to her daughter. Ledger is moved by the trust she is placing in him, and he promises to be there for both of them, always. He knows that the path ahead will not be easy, that there will be challenges and obstacles, but he is ready to face them. He loves Kenna, and he loves DM, and he will do whatever it takes to protect their happiness. The next day, DM is discharged from the hospital. Kenna, Ledger, Grace, and Patrick are all there to bring her home. DM is tired, but in good spirits, her usual chatter subdued but still present. She is delighted to see Ledger, wrapping her small arms around his neck, and he feels a surge of love for this little girl who has become so important to him. They drive to the Landry home, where Grace has prepared a quiet welcome, and they spend the afternoon together as a family. Patrick is still quiet, but there is a softness in his eyes that was not there before, and he even offers Kenna a small, hesitant smile. That night, after DM has been tucked into bed, Kenna and Ledger stand on the Landry's porch, the cool evening air wrapping around them. They look out at the stars, and Kenna takes his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. She tells him that she never thought she would have this, a family, a future, a love like theirs. She thanks him for believing in her, for fighting for her, for being her anchor. Ledger pulls her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. He tells her that he will never stop fighting for her, that she is his everything, and that their future is just beginning. They stand together, wrapped in each other's arms, the past finally behind them, and a world of possibilities ahead. Chapter 33 returns to Kenna, and she is still floating on the emotional high of the past few days. The forgiveness from Grace, the tentative peace with Patrick, DM's recovery, and the deepening of her relationship with Ledger have all combined to create a sense of wholeness she has not felt in years. She wakes up in Ledger's arms, the morning light filtering through her apartment windows, and she feels a profound sense of gratitude. She has been given a second chance, and she intends to make the most of it. The day is quiet and unhurried. Kenna and Ledger share a lazy breakfast, Willow weaving between their feet, and they talk about the future. They discuss the possibility of moving in together, of creating a home where DM can visit and feel loved. It is a big step, but it feels right to both of them. Kenna thinks about the journey that has brought her here, the pain and the loss, the struggles and the triumphs, and she realizes that every moment has led her to this point. She would not change a thing, because it has brought her to Ledger and to DM. Later that afternoon, Kenna receives a call from Grace. Her voice is cheerful, and she invites Kenna and Ledger over for a barbecue the following weekend, a celebration of DM's recovery and a chance for the whole family to spend time together. Kenna accepts, her heart full of joy. She tells Ledger the news, and he grins, pulling her into a hug. They spend the rest of the day planning what to bring, what to wear, how to make the day special for DM. The day of the barbecue arrives, and it is everything Kenna could have hoped for. The Landry home is filled with laughter and the smell of grilled food. DM is running around the yard with her dog, her energy fully restored, her laughter a music that fills the air. Grace is bustling around the kitchen, Patrick is manning the grill, and Ledger is chasing DM with a water balloon. Kenna stands on the porch, watching the scene unfold, and she feels tears prick at her eyes. This is the family she has always dreamed of, the one she thought she had lost forever. As the afternoon wears on, Patrick approaches Kenna. His expression is serious, but there is no hostility in his eyes. He tells her that he has been thinking about everything, about the years of anger and grief, and he realizes that he has been holding on to a version of the past that is not serving anyone. He says that he still misses Scotty every day, that he always will, but he knows that Scotty would not want them to live in the shadow of his death. He tells Kenna that he is willing to give her a chance, to see her as DM's mother and as part of their family. It is not forgiveness, he says, but it is a beginning. Kenna feels the tears spilling down her cheeks, and she thanks Patrick, her voice choked with emotion. He gives her a small, awkward nod, and then he returns to the grill, his shoulders slightly less burdened than before. Kenna watches him go, her heart overflowing. She has Patrick's tentative acceptance, Grace's forgiveness, Ledger's love, and DM's joy. It is more than she ever thought she would have, and she knows that she will spend the rest of her life being worthy of it. She walks back to the yard, joining the laughter and the love, her heart finally at peace. Chapter 34 shifts to Ledger, and he is watching Kenna from across the yard at the barbecue, his heart full to bursting. He sees her laughing with DM, her face radiant with joy, and he knows that he has never loved anyone the way he loves her. The past few weeks have been a whirlwind of emotions, from the fear of DM's accident to the relief of her recovery, from the tension with Patrick to the fragile peace that now exists. Through it all, Kenna has been his anchor, his reason to hope, and he cannot imagine his life without her. The barbecue winds down as the sun begins to set. Grace brings out dessert, a homemade pie that everyone enjoys, and the conversation flows easily. Patrick is more relaxed than Ledger has seen him in years, cracking jokes and teasing DM. Grace is glowing with happiness, her eyes occasionally landing on Kenna with a warmth that speaks of genuine affection. Ledger looks around at this makeshift family, this group of people who have been through so much together, and he feels a profound sense of gratitude. Later that evening, after DM has been put to bed and Grace and Patrick have retired to the living room, Ledger and Kenna step outside onto the porch. The night air is cool and crisp, and the stars are beginning to appear in the sky. Ledger turns to Kenna, taking both of her hands in his. He tells her that he has been thinking about their future, about what he wants for them. He says that he knows their journey has been difficult, that they have faced obstacles that would have broken lesser people. but he believes that they are stronger because of it. He tells her that he wants to build a life with her, a real life, with a home and a family and all the happiness they deserve. Kenna's eyes glisten with tears, and she squeezes his hands. She tells him that she wants the same thing, that she has dreamed of a future with him since the moment she walked into the Clover and saw him standing behind the bar. She tells him that he has been her rock, her support, her love, and she cannot imagine her life without him. They share a kiss, soft and tender, sealed under the canopy of stars. As they pull apart, Ledger reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. Kenna's breath catches in her throat, her hands flying to her mouth. Ledger opens the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring, a diamond that catches the faint light from the house. He tells her that he has been carrying this ring for weeks, waiting for the right moment, and he knows that now is the time. He kneels down on one knee, his heart pounding, and he asks her to marry him. Kenna sobs, nodding her head, unable to form words. He slides the ring onto her finger, and she pulls him to his feet, throwing her arms around him. They hold each other, laughing and crying, their future finally sealed with a promise of forever. Grace and Patrick have come to the door, watching the scene with smiles on their faces, and even Patrick nods his approval. Ledger and Kenna are engaged, and their lives are about to begin. Chapter 35 returns to Kenna, and she is still staring at the ring on her finger, unable to believe that this is real. The diamond catches the morning light as she lies in bed, Ledger's arm wrapped around her, and she feels a surge of joy so intense it almost hurts. She has been engaged before to Scotty, but that dream was shattered in a single tragic night. Now she has been given another chance at love, at happiness, at a future she thought she had lost forever. She turns to look at Ledger, his face peaceful in sleep, and she whispers a silent thank you to the universe for bringing him into her life. The day is filled with a flurry of phone calls and congratulations. Grace is overjoyed, her voice warm and tearful as she tells Kenna how happy she is for her. DM, when she is told the news, claps her hands with excitement, asking if she can be the flower girl. Kenna laughs, wiping away tears, and promises DM that she will have the most important role in the wedding. Even Patrick, in his gruff way, offers his congratulations, telling Kenna that Ledger is a good man and that she deserves to be happy. Kenna's mind is spinning with plans for the future. She thinks about the wedding, about where they will live, about how they will build a life together. She knows that there are still obstacles to overcome, that the town's judgment will not disappear overnight, but she does not care. She has Ledger, she has DM, and she has the love of a family that has chosen to accept her. It is more than she ever thought she would have, and she will fight to protect it with everything she has. Later that week, Kenna visits the bookstore where she works, and she shares the news with Carla. Carla is ecstatic, pulling Kenna into a tight hug and demanding to see the ring. She tells Kenna that she deserves this happiness, that she has worked so hard to rebuild her life, and that she is proud of her. Kenna feels a warmth spread through her at the words, grateful for the unexpected friendship she has found in her boss. As the wedding planning begins, Kenna and Ledger decide on a small, intimate ceremony. They want something simple and meaningful, surrounded by the people who matter most to them. Grace offers to host the reception at the Landry home, a gesture that brings tears to Kenna's eyes. They begin to plan the details, the flowers, the music, the cake, and each decision feels like a step toward their future together. One evening, Kenna sits down to write a letter to Scotty. It is something she has done before, a way to process her grief and keep his memory alive. She tells him about Ledger, about the love she has found, about the happiness that has finally come into her life. She tells him that she will never forget him, that he will always be a part of her heart, but she knows that he would want her to move forward. She asks for his blessing, his approval, and she signs the letter with a promise to always love him. When she finishes, she folds the paper and places it in a drawer with the others, a small ritual that brings her comfort. She knows that Scotty is watching over her, and she feels his love in the peace that has finally settled in her heart. Chapter 36 shifts to Ledger, and he is standing in the middle of the clover, looking around at the bar that has been his life for so many years. The space feels different now, filled with the promise of a future he never thought he would have. He has been thinking about the wedding, about the life he and Kenna will build together, and he realizes that he wants to make some changes. He has been running the clover alone for years, but now he is thinking about expanding, about bringing in a partner, about creating a legacy that he can pass on to DM one day. Ledger has also been thinking about the past, about the friendship he shared with Scotty, about the dreams they had of running the bar together. He feels a pang of loss, but it is tempered with a sense of peace. He knows that Scotty would have wanted him to be happy, to find love, and build a family. He thinks about how Scotty would have reacted to Kenna's engagement, and he smiles. Scotty would have been thrilled, he knows, because Scotty loved Kenna with all his heart and would have wanted her to find happiness again. Ledger feels a sense of closure, a final letting go of the guilt and grief that has haunted him for so long. That evening, Ledger and Kenna have dinner with Grace and Patrick. The conversation is warm and easy, filled with laughter and plans for the wedding. Grace is in her element, offering suggestions for flowers and menus, while Patrick listens with a bemused smile. DM is the center of attention, as always, chattering about her flower girl dress and practicing her walk down the aisle. Ledger watches the scene unfold, his heart full of love and gratitude. This is his family now, and he will do everything in his power to protect them. After dinner, Ledger and Kenna take a walk through the neighborhood. The evening is cool and peaceful, the streetlights casting a soft glow. They talk about the wedding, about their hopes for the future, about the children they might have someday. Ledger tells Kenna that he wants to adopt DM, to make her officially his daughter. Kenna stops walking, turning to look at him with tears in her eyes. She asks him if he is sure, and he nods, telling her that he loves DM as if she were his own, and he wants to give her his name. Kenna throws her arms around him, sobbing with joy, and they stand together in the quiet street, their future sealed with a promise of love and family. The walk continues, and Ledger finds himself sharing something he has never told anyone. He tells Kenna about the guilt he has carried since Scotty's death, the feeling that he should have been there, that he should have done something to prevent the tragedy. He tells her that he has spent years wondering if he could have saved his best friend, and the question has haunted him. Kenna listens, her hand in his, and she offers him the same grace she has been given. She tells him that he cannot blame himself, that the accident was a terrible tragedy, but it was not his fault. She tells him that he has been a rock for the Landrys, a father to DM, and that Scotty would be proud of the man he has become. Ledger feels a weight lift from his shoulders, a burden he has carried for too long, and he knows that he is finally ready to let go of the past and embrace the future. Chapter 37 returns to Kenna, and she is in her apartment, surrounded by wedding magazines and fabric swatches. The past few days have been a whirlwind of planning, and she is exhausted but exhilarated. She never thought she would have a wedding, never thought she would find a love like this, and every decision feels like a miracle. She has chosen a simple white dress, nothing extravagant, and Grace has offered to make the flowers. DM is practicing her flower girl duties with intense concentration, and Ledger has been patiently helping with the guest list, even though he claims to have no opinion on the colour of the napkins. Kenna's thoughts drift to Scotty, as they often do in quiet moments. She wonders what he would think of all this, of her marrying his best friend, of the family they are building together. She knows he would be happy, that he would want her to move forward and find joy. She feels his presence in the love she shares with Ledger and in the laughter of their daughter. It is a bittersweet feeling, but it no longer carries the sharp edge of pain. The grief has softened into something gentler, a cherished memory rather than a wound. The wedding is just a week away, and Kenna feels a flutter of nerves. She is not nervous about marrying Ledger. She knows with absolute certainty that he is the one for her, but she is nervous about the day itself, about the emotions it will bring. She thinks about Grace and Patrick, about how far they have come, and she hopes that the day will be a celebration of healing as much as a celebration of love. She wants it to be perfect, not just for her and Ledger, but for everyone who has been part of their journey. That evening, Kenna receives a surprise visit from Grace. She arrives with a small box, her eyes twinkling with excitement. Inside is a beautiful lace handkerchief, embroidered with Kenna's initials and the date of the wedding. Grace tells her that it was Scotty's grandmother's, a family heirloom, and she wants Kenna to carry it on her wedding day. Kenna is overwhelmed, tears streaming down her face as she clutches the delicate fabric. She tells Grace that she does not deserve such a gift, but Grace waves away her protests. She says that Kenna is family now, and family shares these things. They embrace, and Kenna feels the last remnants of the wall between them crumble away. Later that night, Kenna lies in bed, Willow curled up beside her, and she thinks about all the women who have carried that handkerchief before her. She thinks about Scotty's grandmother, about Grace, about the legacy of love and loss that has brought her to this moment. She feels a profound connection to the past, to the family she has been welcomed into, and she knows that she will carry that love with her always. She falls asleep with a smile on her face, dreaming of the future that awaits her. The next morning, Kenna wakes up with a renewed sense of purpose. She has 1 week until her wedding, and she wants to savor every moment. She plans a quiet day, a walk in the park, a visit with DM, and an evening with Ledger. She wants to soak in the love that surrounds her, to hold on to it and never let go. She knows that life will not always be easy, that there will be challenges ahead, but she also knows that she has the strength to face them. She has Ledger, she has DM, she has Grace and Patrick, and she has the memory of Scotty guiding her. She is ready for whatever comes next. Chapter 38 shifts to Ledger, and he is standing in his apartment, staring at the tuxedo hanging on the back of his door. The wedding is 2 days away, and he feels a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. He has never been more certain of anything in his life, but the weight of the moment is not lost on him. He is marrying the woman he loves, becoming a father to her daughter, and building a future that he once thought was impossible. He thinks about Scotty, about the friendship they shared, and he knows that his best friend would be proud of him. The day before the wedding, Ledger takes DM to the park. He wants to spend some quality time with her, to reassure her that she is not losing her place in his heart. They swing on the swings, build sandcastles, and share ice cream cones. DM chatters about the wedding, about her flower girl dress, about how pretty Kenna will look. Ledger listens, his heart swelling with love for this little girl who has become so important to him. He tells her that he is so excited to be her dad, and she grins, throwing her arms around his neck. In that moment, he knows that he is exactly where he is meant to be. That evening, Ledger has a quiet dinner with Patrick. The conversation is easy, filled with memories of Scotty and hopes for the future. Patrick tells Ledger that he is proud of him, that he has been like a son to them, and that he knows Scotty would be happy about the wedding. Ledger feels a lump form in his throat, and he thanks Patrick for his support. He tells him that he will always be there for their family, that he will never let them down. Patrick nods, a rare smile crossing his face, and they share a moment of understanding. As the wedding day dawns, Ledger is up early, his nerves buzzing with excitement. He goes through his morning routine, his mind filled with images of Kenna in her white dress, of DM scattering flower petals, of the life they will build together. He arrives at the venue early, a small garden chapel that Grace helped choose, and he takes a moment to breathe. He stands at the altar, waiting for the love of his life to walk through the door. When Kenna appears, Ledger feels his breath catch in his throat. She is radiant, her dress simple and elegant, her face glowing with happiness. DM walks ahead of her, scattering petals with serious concentration, and Grace and Patrick are seated in the front row, their eyes filled with tears of joy. Kenna walks toward him, her eyes locked on his, and he feels a surge of love so powerful it almost brings him to his knees. She reaches him, taking his hands, and they exchange vows that come from the deepest parts of their hearts. He promises to love her, to protect her, to stand by her through all the challenges life may bring. She promises the same, her voice steady with conviction. When they kiss, sealing their vows, Ledger knows that this is the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. They walk down the aisle together, hand in hand, surrounded by the love of their family, and he knows that he has found his forever. Chapter 39 returns to Kenna, and she is standing in the garden chapel, still feeling the echo of Ledger's kiss on her lips. The ceremony has just ended, and she is floating on a cloud of happiness. She looks down at the ring on her finger, a simple gold band that matches Ledger's, and she feels a sense of completeness that she has never known before. She is Mrs. Ledger Ward, and the title fills her with a joy so profound it brings tears to her eyes. The reception is held at the Landry home, transformed with fairy lights and flowers. Grace has outdone herself, the garden tables draped in white linen, the centerpieces bursting with blooms. Diem is running around with her dog, her flower girl dress already smudged with grass stains, but no one cares. The laughter and music fill the air, and Kenna looks around at the faces of the people she loves. Grace is beaming, Patrick is actually smiling, and Ledger is at her side, his hand never leaving hers. The toasts are heartfelt and emotional. Grace stands up, raising her glass, and she speaks about new beginnings, about the healing that has taken place, about the joy of watching Kenna and Ledger find each other. She says that Scotty would have been so happy to see them together, that he would have wanted this love to bloom. Kenna feels tears streaming down her face as she listens, and she squeezes Ledger's hand. Patrick also offers a toast, his voice gruff but sincere. He says that Ledger has been a son to them, and now Kenna is a daughter. He welcomes her to the family, and the words mean more to her than he will ever know. As the evening wears on, Kenna and Ledger share their first dance as husband and wife. The song is a slow, beautiful melody that they chose together, and they sway under the fairy lights, lost in each other's eyes. Kenna rests her head on Ledger's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, and she whispers, that she loves him. He kisses the top of her head and tells her that she is his everything. They dance for what feels like hours, surrounded by the love of their family, and Kenna knows that this is the happiest moment of her life. Later, after the guests have gone and the night has grown quiet, Kenna and Ledger sit on the porch of the Landry home. The stars are out, and the cool breeze carries the scent of flowers. DM is asleep inside, exhausted from the excitement, and Grace and Patrick have retired for the night. Kenna and Ledger sit in comfortable silence, their hands intertwined, and they talk about their future. They discuss their plans for a home, for more children, for a life filled with love and laughter. They know that there will be challenges, but they also know that they can face anything together. Kenna looks at Ledger, at the man who has become her husband, and she feels a profound sense of gratitude. She thinks about the journey that brought her here, the pain and the loss, the struggles and the triumphs. She would not change a single moment of it, because it led her to this, to him, to their daughter, to their family. She tells him that she is so grateful for him, that he saved her in ways he will never fully understand. He pulls her close, kissing her gently, and tells her that she saved him too. They sit together under the stars, their future bright and full of promise, and Kenna knows that she is finally home. Chapter 40 shifts to Ledger, and he is lying in bed next to Kenna, the morning light filtering through the curtains of their new home. They have just returned from a short honeymoon, a quiet weekend at a small cabin in the mountains, and the peace of the retreat still lingers in his bones. He watches Kenna sleep, her face soft and relaxed, and he marvels at the journey that has brought them here. They are married now, building a life together, and every day feels like a gift. The new house is modest but warm, a small bungalow with a garden out back that they have already started planning. Grace and Patrick helped them move in while they were away, and the place is beginning to feel like home. DM has her own room, painted a soft pink with fairy lights strung across the ceiling. She has already claimed it as her castle, and Ledger loves the sound of her laughter echoing through the halls. He is still adjusting to the title of stepfather, but it fits him more naturally than he expected. That morning, Ledger and Kenna take DM to the park. It has become a weekend ritual, a time for them to be together as a family. DM runs ahead, her energy boundless, and Ledger watches her with a smile. He thinks about the future, about the children he and Kenna might have, about the life they will build. He feels a sense of peace that has been absent for so many years, and he knows that he is exactly where he is meant to be. Later that day, Ledger receives a call from Patrick. His voice is warm, and he invites them over for dinner. Ledger agrees, and they spend the evening with Grace and Patrick, the conversation flowing easily. DM is the center of attention as always, and she proudly tells her grandparents about her new room. Grace and Patrick listen with smiles, their eyes soft with love. Ledger looks around the table, at his family, and he feels a profound sense of gratitude. He has been given a second chance, a new beginning, and he will never take it for granted. As the evening winds down, Ledger and Kenna walk home through the quiet streets. The air is cool, and the stars are beginning to appear. They talk about their dreams, about the garden they want to plant, about the trips they want to take. They talk about DM's future, about the schools they will choose, about the life they will provide for her. It is a conversation filled with hope and possibility, and Ledger feels a warmth spread through his chest. When they reach their home, Ledger stops at the front door and turns to Kenna. He takes her hands in his, looking into her eyes, and he tells her that he loves her more than he ever thought possible. He says that every day with her is a blessing, and he cannot wait to spend the rest of his life by her side. Kenna's eyes glisten with tears, and she tells him that she feels the same way. They share a kiss, soft and tender, and then they step inside their home together. The future is bright, filled with love and laughter, and Ledger knows that this is just the beginning. Chapter 41 returns to Kenna, and she is standing in the kitchen of their new home, the morning sun streaming through the window as she prepares breakfast. The scent of coffee and pancakes fills the air, and she can hear DM's laughter from the living room, where Ledger is helping her build a fort out of blankets and pillows. The sound is pure joy, and Kenna pauses for a moment, soaking it in. She has dreamed of this, a home filled with love and laughter, and now it is her reality. The past few weeks have been a beautiful blur of settling into their new life. They have established a routine, a rhythm that feels natural and right. Kenna has continued working at the bookstore, but she has also started taking on more responsibilities, helping Carla with the financial side of the business. Ledger has been expanding the Clover, bringing in a partner to help him manage the growing workload. They are building a future together, and every day feels like a step forward. Kenna's relationship with Grace and Patrick has deepened into something genuine and warm. They are no longer just DM's grandparents, they are family. Grace calls Kenna regularly, not just to coordinate visits with DM, but to chat, to share stories, to offer support. Patrick has even started joking with her, his gruff exterior softening into something almost playful. It is more than Kenna ever expected, and she treasures every moment of it. One afternoon, Kenna receives a letter in the mail. The return address is unfamiliar, and she opens it with curiosity. It is from the woman who had been her cellmate in prison, a woman named Sarah, who had been a source of support during her darkest days. Sarah has been released as well, and she writes to tell Kenna that she has turned her life around, that she has found a job and a place to live, and that she is grateful for the friendship they shared. Kenna reads the letter with tears in her eyes, and she writes back immediately, offering her encouragement and support. That evening, Kenna shares the letter with Ledger. He listens, his arm wrapped around her, and he tells her that he is proud of her for the person she has become. He says that her strength and resilience are part of what he loves about her. Kenna feels a warmth spread through her, and she knows that she has not only found love, but she has also found a partner who sees her fully and accepts her completely. As the night falls, Kenna tucks DM into bed. The little girl is sleepy, her eyes heavy, but she reaches up and wraps her arms around Kenna's neck. She whispers that she loves her, and Kenna feels her heart crack open with love. She hugs her daughter tightly, promising to always be there for her. She stays by DM's side until she falls asleep. Then she quietly leaves the room, closing the door behind her. Kenna joins Ledger on the couch, Willow curling up in her lap. They sit in comfortable silence, the weight of the day settling around them. Kenna thinks about the letter from Sarah, about the journey that has brought her here, about the family she has built. She knows that there will be challenges ahead, that life will not always be easy, but she also knows that she has the strength to face them. She has Ledger, she has DM, she has Grace and Patrick, and she has the love of a family that has chosen to accept her. She leans her head on Ledger's shoulder, closing her eyes, and she knows that she is exactly where she is meant to be. The future is bright, and she is ready for whatever comes next. Chapter 42 is the final chapter of the main narrative, and it brings the story full circle to a moment of profound peace and reflection. The chapter opens on a quiet Sunday afternoon, several months after the wedding. Kenna, Ledger, and DM are in the backyard of their home. a space they have transformed into a small garden with flowers, a vegetable patch, and a swing set for DM. The sun is warm, and the air is filled with the sounds of birds and the distant hum of the neighborhood. It is an ordinary day, but for Kenna, it is anything but ordinary. It is a day that represents everything she has fought for and everything she has gained. DM is swinging high, her laughter ringing out as Ledger pushes her from behind. Kenna is sitting on a blanket under the shade of an old oak tree, watching them with a smile on her face. Her heart is full, and she feels a sense of contentment that she never thought she would experience. She thinks about the journey that has brought her to this moment, the pain and the loss, the struggles and the triumphs. She thinks about Scotty, about the love they shared, and she feels his presence in the laughter of their daughter. She knows that he would be happy for her, that he would approve of the life she has built. As the afternoon wears on, Grace and Patrick arrive for a visit. They bring a homemade pie and a basket of fresh fruit from their garden. The six of them gather on the blanket, sharing stories and laughter. DM sits on Patrick's lap, chattering away about her day, and Grace reaches over to squeeze Kenna's hand. It is a small gesture, but it carries a world of meaning. Kenna feels the love of her family surrounding her, and she knows that she has found her place in the world. Later, as the sun begins to set, Ledger and Kenna take a walk through the garden. The evening light casts a golden glow over everything, and the air is cool and sweet. Ledger takes her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers, and they walk in comfortable silence. He stops at the rose bush they planted together, picking a single bloom and tucking it behind her ear. He tells her that he loves her, that she is the best thing that has ever happened to him. Kenna feels tears prick at her eyes, and she tells him that she loves him too, that he has given her a life she never dared to dream of. They return to the house, where Grace and Patrick are saying their goodbyes. DM is sleepy, leaning against her grandmother's legs, and she gives Kenna a tired wave. After Grace and Patrick leave, Kenna and Ledger tuck DM into bed together. They read her a story, a fairy tale about a princess who finds her way home, and they kiss her goodnight. DM is asleep before they reach the end of the story, her small face peaceful and content. Kenna and Ledger step outside onto the porch, the stars beginning to appear in the sky. They stand together, wrapped in each other's arms, and they look out at the world they have built. Kenna knows that her story is not over, that there will be challenges and joys yet to come, but she also knows that she is ready for them. She has found her home, her family, her love. She has found her peace. And as she looks up at the stars, she whispers a quiet thank you to Scotty, to Grace, to Patrick, and to Ledger, for all the love that has brought her to this moment. She is finally, completely, whole. The epilogue of Reminders of Him takes place several years into the future, offering a final, heartwarming glimpse into the lives of Kenna, Ledger, and their growing family. The scene opens on a warm summer afternoon, much like the one that closed the main narrative. But the setting has expanded to include the joyful chaos of a larger family. Kenna and Ledger are now parents to a second child, a baby boy named Scotty, in honor of the man who will forever hold a place in their hearts. The name is a tribute that Grace and Patrick embraced with tears of joy, a symbol of the healing and love that has woven their family together. The backyard of their home, which was once a modest garden, is now a vibrant space filled with the laughter of children, the barking of their dog, and the chatter of family and friends. DM, now older and more grown up, is chasing her little brother around the yard, her protective instincts already strong. She has become a mini-mother, always watching over Scotty with a tenderness that reminds Kenna of the love she felt for her own daughter from the very first moment she saw her. Grace and Patrick are seated in comfortable chairs on the patio, watching the scene with contented smiles. The years have softened them, their grief transformed into a peaceful acceptance of the life they have now. They are grandparents to two beautiful children, and they love them with all their hearts. The epilogue also includes the presence of Sarah, Kenna's former cellmate, who has become a close family friend. She has visited for the weekend, and she is currently helping Ledger at the grill, laughing at his attempts to flip burgers without burning them. Their friendship is a testament to Kenna's journey, a reminder of where she came from and how far she has traveled. Sarah's presence is a symbol of the second chances that have defined Kenna's life, and her place in the family is a quiet but powerful affirmation of the grace that can be found in the most unexpected places. The day is filled with simple pleasures, a barbecue with the people they love, a game of catch in the yard, and the kind of easy conversation that only comes with deep trust and affection. Kenna takes a moment to step back, to observe the scene from a quiet corner of the garden. She watches Ledger, her husband, as he hoists their son onto his shoulders, spinning him around while DM claps and giggles. She watches Grace and Patrick, their faces lined with age and happiness, and she watches Sarah, a woman who has become a sister to her. She feels a profound sense of gratitude, a peace that settles deep in her bones. As the evening begins to fade, Kenna and Ledger find a moment alone on the porch. The sky is painted in shades of orange and pink, and the air is cool and sweet. They stand together, as they have so many times before, and they talk about the future. They talk about their dreams for their children, about the trips they want to take when they are older, about the life they will continue to build together. Kenna tells Ledger that she never thought she could be this happy, that every day feels like a gift. He pulls her close, kissing her forehead, and he tells her that she is his gift, that she has given him a life beyond his wildest dreams. The epilogue closes with Kenna looking out at her family, her heart full to bursting. She thinks about the journey that brought her here, the pain and the loss, the struggles and the triumphs, and she knows that every moment was worth it. She has found her home, her love, her peace. She has been given a second chance, and she has embraced it with all her heart. The final lines of the epilogue echo the title of the book, a soft whisper to herself that she is surrounded by reminders of him, reminders of Scotty, in the laughter of their daughter, in the name of their son, in the love of the family she has built. He is never truly gone, and she will carry him with her always, a part of the beautiful, imperfect, and deeply loved life she now lives. It is 100% audio-only content in easy-to-understand English. It is also an AI-generated voiceover and text-to-speech narration book summary video, which is not functionally identical videos, like generic calming sounds or fact sideshows. Instead, get fresh narrative and educational substance, along with providing original content and different from each other. Similar content between videos, but each video talks specifically about a different book that I am featuring. Also, adds meaningful value and does not mislead viewers.